the link out there. Alrighty, and we are live for TVA's match opening week of the LBLCS. And as always, I have my basically constant co-host at this point, Les Force. Welcome into week one. What's got your peaches ripe today?
Man, like you said, definitely glad that we're finally at the start of the season. The team's been cooking under wraps for a while, but we're finally here. Week one is already seen some banger matches in commercial. Kicked off with that Naughty Dogs Misfits matchup, and now today we finally get to see this new look Team Volatility Academy take their talents onto the Rift against the Serenity Bad Boys Club.
Yeah, I really am super excited to see this iteration of Team Volatility Academy. We've touched on it several games throughout the off season and scrims and whatnot, but just really turning over a lot of this roster with some new faces, new names. But realistically, I think they're coming out on the other end looking even stronger than before. I think, especially from a synergy perspective, they've done a great job of really building a lot of experience in a short amount of time and being able to play off of one another. And I think that's going to be a really great strength of the team, specifically going into week one so fresh. But it is always nice to see or test yourself against one of the larger and more significant orgs within the league, and that being Serenity. That way, you're going against another heavy hitter. Now, I know in the offseason you had contributed a pretty, I, I will say, conflicting, definitely started some controversy in terms of power rankings for this league. So, where do you see these teams falling into these power rankings?
Yeah, so I was brought onto the creative team for the LBLCS this season, and I was assigned commercial. So basically, I went through, asked every captain for their starting lineup, and I ranked every single one of these players, and then the team as a whole. And so this matchup here, for context, should be a pretty good one. I have these guys ranked at number 8 for TVA and number 10 for Serenity Bad Boys Club, which kind of has a bit of an unfortunate acronym. But I think this is going to be a pretty competitive match. I think these are two playoff caliber teams. As we're going through the bans here, Bad Boys Club did note the Camped Ash is his most played support. They took away the Vagar, and so it looks like they first picked the Maokai, which we know is likely to be piloted by Damien in the jungle.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I will say, Maokai is something that we know is super strong in the jungle, but it's always a strong pick that can be flexed into several roles. We've seen a lot of a tankier Maokai, whether that is in the jungle or in top lane. So we'll see that moving forward to see if it stays into the jungle. Now, I am having some audio issues here, very likely due to the blizzard that we're having outside.
So going to keep switching around with some of the different settings and whatnot, swapping back and forth. Just keep letting me know in chat. But moving forward, we do see the Caitlyn locked in for Serenity along with the Wukong. So you have a very lane dominant ADC, now probably one of the top premier in the game. And then you do have some really reliable engage on the Wukong specifically to help with the team fighting. That matches up pretty well into the Maokai post all these demonic nerfs and whatnot. We do see Zaya locked in for the side of TVA. Really, I think these are probably two of the top, if not the top two ADCs in the game right now. And something that you'll see just a lot of comfort throughout most leagues in the LBLCS, whether that be the Economy League or in our Executive League. You're going to see both of these picked a lot of times along with Kaisa. I'd probably say it's the top three. And we'd see it paired with the lovers duo in Rakan here. 1 second left to lock in, and that is officially locked in. So from both sides already, you do see a lot of skirmish ability as well as team fighting coming out here early.
Yeah, I know that Camden Galson had been practicing this Zyrakan lane, and I was gonna call. I'm not surprised that they decide to go with the Thresh. That fits in well with support Gape's champ pool. He plays Leona, Thresh, Nautilus are his top three. So I was expecting it to be one of those type of champs to go along with the Caitlyn. And there's a lot of crazy kill pressure if the Thresh is able to hit a good hook at that level 2 point, get the trap underneath, really kind of set the side of TVA behind from the onset.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking into that bot matchup, I know you as a support player are going to have a little more insight than I will. But at first glance, I'm really liking this Caitlyn Thresh lane to really not only enable the Caitlyn to play a little aggressive when you have that get out of jail free card with the Thresh Lantern, but on top of it, I think Thresh matches very nicely into Rakan specifically. But what are your thoughts?
Thresh can definitely do well in Turrican. It really just comes down to how well they can time either the flay on either his dash in or his leap out to a teammate. If Thresh can stop that and hold the Rakan in his tracks, it's a very good lane. Rakan is pretty slippery though, and so if a camp is quick enough or gets on a side where maybe support gate isn't quite ready to hit that flay, then it can still be pretty viable. But I'm assuming that they picked this more so for the survivability as well as getting to that level 6 point and then going in with the Maokai on engages.
Yeah,
and then hoping that the Zaya can do fine on their own.
for sure. And speaking of engages, I think specifically, maybe not 100% trusting that split second reaction time to get the Zaya R off. You do see the side of TVA ban away the Malphite, super reliable engage, and then Vex. Right away answered by Serenity with Aurelian Soul mid. I think this is a super strong champion that you see so many games where in the early game the Aurelian Soul gets off to an 0-4, 0-3 start, and then out of nowhere you blink and they're 8-3. So I think this is just a super strong champion that puts a lot of pressure on TVA to snowball successfully. Now, one way they're going to be doing that is with the Gwen in the top side. They have the team fight coming out of their jungle, potentially jungle Maokai. I don't see that going mid lane, that's for sure. And then the Zaya Rakan, but then you have Gwen in the top lane being able to create a separate win condition. I think this is a smart idea as you see a ton of heavy team fight coming out from Serenity, but you pair that with a Pantheon most likely going to be in mid lane, being able to roam to either of the side lanes to have a lot of pressure and really win through either the Gwen or through the Zaya, and I think that makes a ton of sense here for TVA.
It does, as it looks like they're just going to pick a Shen top, play pretty weak side into the Gwen. I definitely don't think that's a bad pick if that's what they lock in. Offers a lot of utilities the game goes on, try and protect that Caitlyn or the Aurelian Soul. And yeah, I think the Pantheon is an interesting pick. We saw it the other night. I can't remember. It might have been last night in the stream on the LBLCS. Or maybe it was early in the week. Either way, they played the Pantheon mid. I was a little surprised to see that get brought out, but they were able to get ahead early. And if you're picking Pantheon mid, you have to get ahead early, especially when you're going against something that scales as ridiculously well as Aurelian Soul. Veigar is going to have to get a lot of utility out of this pick, and whether that's Damien and a camp coming to his lane, setting up kills in the Aurelian Soul, getting Pantheon to level 6, and then making those cross-map plays, something's got to be done with this Pantheon pick to make it worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think when you do lock in this Pantheon, there could be a sense of pressure to specifically win your lane super hard to generate that early win condition. But realistically, TVA has the opportunity to play a little bit more slow and then use the Pantheon R into the side lanes to be that generation of a lead, if you will. Like, I don't want to see Veigar getting into this, putting way too much pressure on themselves to win the 1v1 specifically. Being able to get the Zaya or the Gwen ahead is much more of a reliable win condition, especially as you transition into the mid to late game, that I want to see TVA play around. And especially if you compare the Pantheon R and the Maokai Ultimate as well, I think you're really going to be setting your team up for success there. I think looking from matchups lane to lane, we touched on mid quite a lot, so I'm not going to go over that more. In top lane specifically, I really like the Gwen into Shen. I mean, Gwen's picked to rip through tanks like Cassante as well as Sion. And when you have more of a bruisery tank, I guess you will, some type of hybrid in the Shen, that's even better for this Gwen. So really, I'm gonna look to see a lot of pressure in terms of winning the game on Rap Junior, as well as Damien in the jungle being able to uh, enable Gwen to really get ahead, whether that be through vision or even through ganks. When you're playing against the Shen, you love to attack the Shen. He can't shield himself with his ultimate. So really, you can look to punish the weak side play. But outside of that, what are your thoughts compositionally that jumps out to you?
I mean, I just think that that Bad Boys Club, they have a pretty sound strategy here. You've got the Caitlyn Thresh that should be the strong side. I would imagine that's the side Wukong's going to play to in the early portions of the game, try to punish the Zyra Khan. And on the top side, you've got a Shen who A can likely survive laning phase. I mean, it's probably not going to be fun. They're likely going to be down a decent amount of CS. But if a play breaks out in the bot lane, Shen has that global ult, be able to protect the Caitlyn or the Wukong who's diving in on the back line and potentially build their leads that way. Meanwhile, you have the Aurelion Soul, who is going to become a monster the longer this game goes. And on TVA, you're really looking at like the Gwen and the Zayas, these champs who want to get a couple items under their belts and get to that mid to late game. But that plays really well into Aurelion Soul.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. One thing that I really like for the side of Serenity, and I think we touched a lot on TVA's win condition, but for Serenity, this Caitlyn is going to be able to do a lot of work. We touched on the get out of jail free with the Lantern as well as the Peel from the Thresh. And then obviously, as we get later into the game, you're going to have the Shen ultimate to put down, not to mention TVA, like you mentioned, really is going to have to start focusing the Aurelion Soul the later and later this game goes. I just don't see, outside of a really well executed flank angle, probably from the Maokai, how they can consistently lock down this Caitlyn. So from my perspective, I think it's really going to be a battle between the Gwen and the Caitlyn and who's going to be able to carry harder.
For sure. We've got, about 4 minutes here, spectator delay coming in. So I think while we have this time, I think I want to give a mini shout out to, I believe, mid laner on Serenity Bad Boys Club, that boy Truth, who they saw my power rankings and they were not particularly happy with where they got placed in the initial preseason rankings. I believe I had them ranked in 22nd off the top of my head, or 20th out of the 22 teams I ranked. And they said, and I quote, "Keep this receipt after your post and disrespect. I am taking this league and dominating it, just like I did Econ last season." Now, I don't think Aurelion Soul is necessarily the champ I would think of first when it comes to I'm going to dominate this game, but I'm looking forward to seeing if he's able to kind of put his money where his mouth is, with a bold statement like that. I'd certainly love to see him pop off.
Yeah, I really love the confidence. I know that's probably on the border of what you'd call between confidence and arrogance, but even just diving into the amount of reactions that your post put out, I'm loving this type of content as well as just the interaction that it creates. At the end of the day, especially when you're looking at a week one ranking, there's really not much to go off of outside of the players' individual ability based on their ranks and their climbs to, again, as an individual. But once you put these pieces together, you will see as the season goes on, some lower ranked teams definitely outperform what we've anticipated. And then you'll see teams that look really good on paper just not have that synergy right out from the get-go, or even it fall apart if things don't jump out the right way that they were anticipating. So I'm really curious more so to see how these rankings are updated, as well as the feedback you collect as we go through on a weekly basis. But again, super excited for the content coming out for Commercial League. I know there has been a little bit of talk of how it could be introduced in other leagues as well, with its own unique spin on it. But at the end of the day, what really matters is is being shown on the Rift, and you kind of touched on that a little bit. We want to see this at Really and Soul really back up the smack talk that we've already seen. That might not happen until this game gets to about 30 minutes, or we could always see the Inting Pantheon that we are inevitably cursed with in our solo duo games, starting out probably 0-10 and possibly running it straight down mid. So we shall see as this game gets rolling. We still have about 1 minute left on the spectator delay. Any shout outs you have available for this TVA roster before we get rolling and kick off week 1?
Well, I think for one, you have to look at Damien in the jungle. I know that he has been on a ridiculous grind. He has been pumping so many games. I think he's climbed like all the way to Plat 3, which is pretty impressive, here in the Commercial League. That's among the higher end ELO players. He's doing it on carries. He plays a lot of Graves. He does it on Viego. He does it on champs like Maokai and Vi, these facilitated type champs. And so I think he should have a really strong presence in the comms. He should be directing a camp in Vagar, what plays he's looking to make, what objectives they have control over. And I think that he is going to be kind of the key. Obviously, the damage is going to be coming out from Galson and Rap Jr. in the top lane. But with that said, I think that Damien in the jungle on this Maokai is going to be a huge factor for the team here in this first game.
Yeah, and we do see, as we're loading into the screen, just looking at some of the keystones and whatnot, the Maokai is starting with the Phase Rush. Definitely a little less strong than we saw before, especially if you are going to see them going more of the tankier build that Riot's been pushing them towards. As we get everything pulled up here, we're going to see what they go out for these level 1s. I would expect both sides to really have a little bit of motivation to be a little aggressive. You have plenty of CC coming out from both sides, especially the Thresh is probably the most threatening here, or the Pantheon W. It looks like the side of TVA is going to be stacking, looking for a counter to a potential invade, but the side of Serenity is just going to go for the 5-man or 5-point stance here, so nothing too spicy being cooked up here at the level 1.
No, and that's part of week 1 here. Teams maybe a little less inclined to throw an early game by going for an invade. I think BBC kind of wants to take this slow. They don't want to jeopardize things, but it's a good idea from TVA to sit and stack, as when you do have these hook champs like a Thresh, like a Nautilus, they do kind of have a tendency to kind of like autopilot invade towards that top side of the red quadrant. So good play. You're going to see the solo laners head back to their respective lanes, and it looks like we're going to get a leash for TVA, while Wukong is going to be starting up the red side by themselves.
Yeah, and keep a note, because that Wukong is going to be starting out without any leash, as well as the Shen getting a super late and deep ward onto the blue buff of TVA. Serenity's already come out here with a strong start, being able to really jungle track. So I don't believe Damien's going to have much playmaking opportunity, but we'll see if he's able to outplay that as well. You would love to see, for me personally, a full clear of the bot side on the Maokai, look for a flash engage onto the Ruling Soul, take advantage of that ignite into TP matchup. We'll see if that's aligned with what they're thinking here. We do see the Wukong go for an early level 2 gank. This is something you'd see mostly from like a J4, I'd say, especially looking in the mid lane. But due to that deep vision we saw coming out from Swift on that Shen, Wukong knows he's able to go in here and really steal away this blue buff, get the triple buff start here. Very smart play, being able to generate a lead early on this Wukong. If Wukong is able to really speed up the pace of the game and the gold influx, be able to hit that divine power spike early. Now, I really think this could go south here for the side of TVA. But just as we mentioned, we're going to see a play here onto the mid lane. The Pantheon doesn't need a flash forward, able to get the W onto the Rulian Soul. No flash coming out from Maokai yet, but ultimately that boy Truth does have the flash away. So we are here 2.5 minutes in and not dominating yet, but that's just the curse of playing mid lane, getting all that focus. But good from TVA not to have to burn any sums to force that out.
Yep, and that's, I mean, with the Pantheon point and click, Maokai point and click, I certainly think that here in the next 5 minutes we'll be seeing a return there. And so either Truth's going to have to play extremely safe and close to the tower, or they run the extreme risk of dying here in the next couple minutes. Damien obviously set a little bit behind, only able to take the blue buff with the way that jungling is currently at this season. It's a little harder to counter invade, though I think that they did, I think, make that a little easier with this latest update. So ultimately only lost his one camp while burning the flash on the ASOL.
Yeah, and I think that's really good restraint coming out here from the side of TVA, as we do see just a little bit of trading going on in the bot lane, TVA getting advantage of that. But not having the Pantheon nor the Maokai burn their flash there and still getting the flash out of ASOL, I think that's super valuable. And as both Maokai and Pantheon get up to level 6, I really would like to see them use this flash advantage, whether it be in mid or roaming specifically down to the bot lane to try to impact the map. Just very good restraint shown, and they need to be able to reap the fruits of that labor, if you will. Looking across the rest of the map, we see a pretty significant lead being built up CS-wise in the top lane. Rap being able to get an early back off and not have to burn that TP. Super interesting choice as the Shen was not able to shove in time. And we will see the junglers match bot side here on the Scuttle. Wukong does have Smite down, so does the Maokai, but the Scuttle ultimately goes over to Wukong. So not a huge lead generated from the Wukong despite the steal. And we do see another gank potentially coming down here into the bot lane, not spotted until right now, and we do have the Flay down from the Thresh, gonna get knocked up by the Rakan. W goes down onto the Caitlyn, knocked back. We do see Flash go down, Exhaust is down. Is Galson gonna be able to get another root off? Ed goes down to Damien for first blood. They're going to follow up onto the Thresh. Thresh has to flash out. No follow-up available, but very well played from the side of TVA. Not only to burn the summoners, but to get the kill themselves. The only summoner being used, that exhaust from the Rakan. Very efficient early game coming out from Damien on the Maokai. You touched on, going to have to be the MVP player coming out here potentially for TVA this entire split, and he's really starting it off with a bang.
Good little bait there from a camp. He was walking into that bottom brush, just trying to entice support Gabe to, try to go in on him a little bit. He buys enough time for Damien to come down on the Maokai. They did engage on 2 separate targets, but I mean I think it was ultimately it all obviously worked out. They burned the flash on both of them. Caitlyn does still have the cleanse, but I think here in the next couple minutes you should see a potential repeat down there as they get closer to those level 6s. Looks like BBC was briefly going to start the dragon, but Wukong changes his mind, just going to go ahead and get a base off.
Yeah, and keep in mind, on the Wukong, you really want to be able to try to play around your item spikes, especially that Sunderer and your level 6. So all this early just playmaking coming out from the side of TVA is definitely not what you want to see on the side of the Wukong. Along with the scaling you're going to want for the Shen to have R as well as the Aurelian Soul. So good identification as we do see Rap potentially going down here. Flash forward coming out from the Shen, not able to heal off of that ultimate, and we do have the solo kill coming out from Swift on that Shen into the Gwen. Definitely not what you want to see from the side of TVA here.
No, Shen definitely does, I would imagine, have a bit of an early advantage in this matchup. Just the... I'll hold that thought.
We don't even have time to talk about it as we do have the flash forward from the Rakan, but the Shen ultimate does come down through. We do have a big level advantage coming down as we do see Damien going to go down. Veigar is going to be able to flash away, not going down yet. That boy Truth going forward, 1v3. Is he able to dominate right here? That is not going to happen. Is super low on mana despite his team being able to start up the dragon here. I doubt there's going to be any type of contest here despite it going to go down a little bit slowly. But just really great reaction time from the side of Serenity, pulling the trigger on both the Aurelian Soul getting over as well as the Shen ultimate coming through to even the kills out as well, secure themselves the first dragon.
Yeah, I mean, just like that, those flashes that we were talking about, trying to take advantage of the ASOLs being down, they're completely burnt. Every member of TVA doesn't have their flash anymore. They're maybe going to look to engage here. I don't think I would if I was a camp. Yeah, unfortunately, that was just really well read by BBC, and now that lead that they were able to build in those first 6 minutes kind of just completely goes away. Obviously, it's still only a 500 gold deficit, so it's not the be all end all, but definitely just a little bit sloppy there.
Yeah, and I really respect your commitment to leaning into this BBC. I don't think I can catch myself sleeping on that. Might have to pause you after every time. But as we're getting into this game, we talked about how TVA really has to be able to take advantage of these level 6 opportunities, and especially on the Pantheon and Maokai here. We did see the Shen ultimate burned to secure that kill and the dragon. So this is probably about the next minute window or so where really TVA has to swing the game back into their favor, or I just don't see a way for them to get control of the map state. We do see the dodge coming out from the hook. Support Gape not able to land that, but this Caitlyn is really just able to take control of this lane right now. As we do see Damien looking for a lane gank potentially, a camp stepping up a little aggressively, not able to land despite the 90 caliber net coming down. As we do see the Pantheon coming through with the ultimate, it's going to get answered from the TP coming in from Aurelian Soul. You're going to take Pantheon ultimate for TP coming out from Aurelian Soul every time, but definitely not what TVA was hoping to get out of the first Pantheon roam here.
No, but it probably is still favorable for them. I think just not quite close enough to the Caitlyn to be able to land the Rakan W. Ultimately, it's still a net positive for TVA, as the wave was also right at the tower for Aurelian Soul, but ultimately kind of amounts to a bit of a nothing here. I will give kudos to Galson here, who is up a decent amount of CS. We're seeing a pretty nice trade there on the Truth in this Caitlyn Xayah matchup, which is not the easiest for the Xayah.
And talk about not easy. It's definitely Wukong going for a gank, not having level 6, so they're not able to lock down Rap Jr. But we do have a potential counter engage coming through here. Maokai's going to look with the ultimate, is going to hit at least the Shen, able to lock down Wukong in the backline, but they're not going to have enough follow-up to get onto the weaker member here. Shen's able to get out of there, no harm, no foul. So we do see both ultimates being used from the top side of TVA, not able to lock down anything, and then the Shen ultimate is back up online now as well. So this is where it really falls on Serenity to be able to answer that on the opposite side of the map, utilizing the Shen pick to really punish when TVA is not able to capitalize.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good call to refer to them as Serenity for the remainder of the cast. Yeah, maybe whip up. I'm not going to finish that sentence, actually. Think wisely about that. They are going to start the Rift here, though. I mean, Wukong is here, and he has the ult, whereas neither member of TVA does. I'm interested to see if they decide to stick with this. I think this is, at best, a little risky. They do have the Rakan coming up.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on the Rakan. Being able to have that roam timer is super well played from the side of TVA. Great macro there. Obviously, Serenity doesn't know it, but they also know that Pantheon was able to get there first compared to the Aurelian Soul. So free Rift Herald essentially being handed over. I know it definitely looked a little sketchy at first, but great rotation there coming out. We do see Rakan base and immediately go bot as well to cover the Xayah, so no harm, no foul. And you touched on it, Galsan. You really wouldn't expect that, especially in against a Caitlyn with the range advantage, and we touched on just a Kate Thresh potentially even being a counter to the Xayah Rakan, but just a 15 CS advantage early. Also being able to get that kill on the Caitlyn early is going to help speed that up. That's translated into roughly about a 400 gold lead, so nothing huge at this point, but definitely just something to hang your hat on as the Xayah as well.
Yeah, for sure. And with Serenity basing there while the opposite side of the map lost the Rift Herald, they didn't even get any plates down bot. So really just a really good positive play there for TVA. I'm curious to see where Damien decides to go with this Rift Herald. A lot of options with the Dragon coming up here in about 50 seconds. Could look to try to save it and get some gold onto the Gwen in a few minutes. They could look to pop this bot. Or there's always the classic pop the Rift mid, get a little bit of mid prior leading up to the Dragon.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see what he does.
I think it's really tough because in this specific composition, you touched on it, having all three lanes really as a good option for this Rift puts a lot of decision making onto the team as a whole. Do you want to get the Gwen split push as a win condition, continue investing into the Xayah that has been an advantage you really weren't counting on this early into the game, or do you want to take down those plates in the mid lane so that way you can really focus down this mid tower to enable the Pantheon to roam a little bit more? So we have a little bit of time before Damien on the side of TVA has to make that decision, as we do have a little bit of a standoff being set up here at this second Dragon 12 and a half minutes in. We do see Wukong back off a little bit, as TVA is coming through this bot side jungle, securing the scuttle, looking to clear some vision as well. If you're the side of Serenity, you've really been able to generate an early lead across the board just in terms of map control that you probably weren't anticipating on outside of bot lane. How do you transition that into really getting a hold of this mid game?
Well, I think over the next minute is a really big opportunity for him, as Gwen has no ability to match a Shen ultimate, as the TPs aren't unleashed. I think that like over the next minute would be a really good opportunity to look for a fight down by the dragon while they have the unsuspecting numbers advantage. I'm not sure if that's what they're going to look to do, as Swift is trading pretty heavily, as the Gwen, I think, popped ultimate, if I saw that correctly.
Yeah, we did see Ultimate and Ghost go down simultaneously, as Rap Jr. is not going to be able to land the second, able to land a little bit of the snip here, but TVA is going to be able to secure the dragon on the ultimate or the other side of the map. We do see some flash engage coming out here from the camp. They are going to be able to lock down and kill the champ down in the bottom. We do see the Shen ultimate come through. Are they able to finish off the Thresh? They do not. So Shen actually comes all the way through despite the Thresh dying. That is huge for the side of TVA. They get 2 kills, they get the dragon, and they're going to get a ton of gold and experience coming over here onto Rap Jr. in the top lane with no answer.
They did part of what I said. You know, Gwen didn't have the unleashed teleport. They tried to salvage a play on the bot side, but unfortunately the play wasn't on their terms. Yeah.
Just a little overzealous there. As we do see the flash forward coming out from the Wukong. Does not have another proc of ultimate, but he doesn't need it, as we do see 2 go down for the side of TVA. Maokai is there with the flash engaged. They're going to get the Shen under the tower. Ultimately not going to go down yet. Are they going to be able to pick up the kills here? We do see the Q coming out from the Pantheon for the snipe, and then a kill into the Wukong for the double kill. Just a huge turn of events here, as we're going to see the Rift Herald go down here, get the gold onto Veigar. Now, plates are down, so definitely not as efficient of a Rift Herald as we were hoping for before, but just tons of kills and gold going back and forth across here.
That play was a little bit of a fiesta there. I think it, again, at best was overzealous of the Rakan to try and stop the recall under tower with the Shen. Obviously, the Wukong was in position, and they're able to get some gold back in their pockets, but Gwen's nearly able to take this entire tower solo by herself up top. Aurelion Sol's roaming, but definitely this Gwen actually only even despite how much time they just had to themselves. Not exactly what you'd like to see, but again, Gwen is going to scale just so much better than Shen as the game goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And just taking the time to really start looking at some of the item decisions coming out from top to bottom. We do see some pretty standard items coming out of the top lane, nothing really to dive into. In jungle, we do see Damien make the option to go into the demonic, more of an AP heavy build on the Maokai. I'm curious to see if he really leans into that and go with the Liandry's here as the mythic, or if he's going to build more of the hybrid option and grab the Radiant Virtue to really help the team. Now, keep in mind, you really do see a lot of Radiant coming through on Rakans. So I don't know if you necessarily want to double that up, as we do see heavy trading coming on the top lane. Wukong is there, not able to really lock down, but we do see ultimate being traded over from Rap Jr. Actually, a lot of damage coming through here as they do not have their mythic done, but I don't think they're going to be able to dive here in the top lane. As we're going forward, looking back into that jungle, we do see the Wukong really stop the Divine build to grab a Tiamat to help with the jungle clearing. I don't know how to feel about that. I definitely think it makes sense to try to catch up to the Maokai in the farm disadvantage and XP. We do see the Wukong ult come through, the Aurelion Sol ult come through, and that's going to be enough to take down Veigar in the mid lane. Big shutdown there going over to the Wukong. So just as I was getting into the Wukong potentially setting himself behind, he's able to find that influx of gold to really set that even. Really smart play coming out from the side of Serenity to really take down the over-aggression from Veigar stepping up in that lane. We do see the Aurelion Sol TP back in the lane, already has the Rod of Ages, already has the Sorc Shoes, starting to scale very well.
Yeah, I'll likely hold off analysis there until after this play.
Typical TVA fashion, we do have tons of back and forth fighting across the map, as we do see the Lennon Hudson go down on the Wukong as well as Swift on the Shen. They're going to be able to get 2 kills for the side TVA as well as the Rift Herald. Now the question is, do you use the Rift Herald mid again to open up the map despite plates being down? It looks like Gwen's going to be able to take the top tower down herself, as Galson is alone in this bot lane, able to avoid the hook, not able to avoid the trap as the Flay goes right onto it, gets the ultimate out. We do see the Pantheon coming down here to help. They are able to finish off the Caitlyn. They are able to finish off the Thresh, not before Galson ultimately goes down. But great play there in rotation coming out from Veigar on the Pantheon to really help on that as the side of Serenity decided to try to punish the Xayah who was all alone. Just really great call there from the side of TVA to understand where they're vulnerable and how to support that.
Yeah, super well played there from Galson to stick it out to the last possible moment, buy time for Veigar to ult down there on the Pantheon. They're able to pick up the 2-for-1. They're able to burn that stopwatch on the Thresh, everyone's favorite keystone item, the what's called perfect time stopwatch.
Yep.
This is gonna be a big fight, I think. If you're looking at the items here, I really think this is the point in the game where you're gonna see this Gwen kind of have a massive impact. You look on the side of Shen, they're at the point in the game where Shen can't directly answer the Gwen one-on-one. At least in theory. He's built no magic resist. He went with the Sunfire and Tabbies, and he has another cloth armor in his inventory. They just simply can't match up against this Gwen, who's now at their item power spike. Looks like they're building into the Nashers next. Same thing with the Wukong, no MR. It's going to be a really tough time matching or even ganking in a 2v1 opportunity against this Gwen that Rap Jr. is piloting, in my opinion. And Serenity just decide to not fight this dragon, come back another time.
Yeah, I really want to touch on Rap Jr. here. I think he's really been the standout for me personally throughout the team as we've watched quite a lot of scrims as well as practices. Just super consistent in terms of being able to generate a lead. But we touched on it a little bit before the game. I really haven't seen Damien on this Maokai really support the Gwen, as we do see the Wukong's been constantly trying to punish that. That's at least the third or fourth time we've seen the Wukong top, and compared to possibly one from the Maokai. I really want to see the side of TVA support Rap Jr. on this Gwen. Nobody's able to match this from top to bottom. Being able to get vision control to allow the Gwen to be aggressive and extend, put that pressure on, especially once Nashers is completed, being able to burn down these towers. So I want to see that coming out from the side of TVA moving forward. For the side of Serenity, what do you think is the game plan here now that they've really stumbled and fallen into about a 4K gold deficit despite a pretty strong first couple of levels?
Well, we'll see if this... I don't think it's going to amount to anything. Actually, we're kind of going all in.
A lot of ultimates being burned here. We do see the Rakan ultimate, we do see the Maokai ultimate, we do see the Shen ultimate coming down through the Wukong, as well as the Gwen ultimate going to be burned down here as the Wukong's able to get the Lantern out of there. Does ultimately go down from Galsal. No, able to live with 10 health. Pantheon's able to get onto the Caitlyn, though. Plenty of flashes forward. This fight is breaking off into two huge fights here, as we do see ultimately the Wukong as well as the Shen not able to get out. Veigar again with the snipe here onto the Pantheon. The Aurelion Soul ultimate able to come down through, but support Gaped able to finish off that kill here. You gotta love when the support's able to kill steal. Able to go forward on the Aurelion Soul, but ultimately trading 2-for-1 here. Tons of ultimates, tons of summoners being used, and TVA is looking to take advantage of that with a Baron.
Should be pretty free. There's only the Aurelion Soul to do any kind of damage to this, and he's already expended the ult. Should be theirs pretty nicely, and it's going to be expiring just before the dragon's going to be spawning here, so we'll have to see what TVA is able to do in the next couple minutes with this Baron. That looks like an awful lot to spend on a Wukong there, if I'm being honest. The Maokai are, the Rakan are, the Shen ultimate, but maybe it was a bit of a ruse because they were able to bait the champ kind of into a bad spot where Veigar was able to, I believe, flash W over the wall, stun him, or no, he burned his flash by the tower. He was still able to catch him out. They're able to burn out this Caitlyn, who's not having the best of games on this powerful pick. And I think for Serenity, you're going to have to try and find a way to stop the bleeding. I hope, if I'm on their side, that they're able to minimize the effectiveness of this Baron, not give up too many towers, not make this gold lead any worse. I think you probably just concede this dragon altogether, as I just don't see how they're able to contest it being down about 6,000 gold with the Baron buff at the moment.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think looking at the item points due to that gold lead, as you mentioned, is getting probably at 5.5k here. We do see Damien on the Maokai lean into the Liandry. So for me, I think that is an opportunity if you're the side of Serenity, having that Wukong kind of point and click engage coming through with the ultimate, as well as the support coming through on the Thresh. I think you have to be able to catch this Maokai out in rotation before an objective. if you're not able to do that, you're really going to sit and take a ton of poke, not able to secure the objective, and then the Gwen's just going to be on the opposite side of the map, mowing down these towers, as we do see about 5 autos down. That's already a quarter of the health. They do have the support from the rest of the team, and that's going to be a tier 2 tower in bot lane going down without any type of response, as Serenity's going to back off this mid lane as well.
And there's the objective bounties, a potential good thing for Serenity. I think that the fact that it was pop doesn't really change, how down in the game they were, but it does give them an opportunity to kind of slingshot in gold if they're able to get a good play, as they are able to. I believe that was the mid tower that came crashing down on its own. I will say I'm typically not a fan of the full AP Maokai, but given the fact that really nobody on Serenity's side of the map is building any kind of MR save for those Merc treads, I think it makes a lot of sense set up in these bushes and really just kind of punish this team for walking into their own side of the jungle.
I definitely agree. Like I said, I'm more of a proponent of the Radiant Virtue Maokai, but in this specific scenario, they've done a great job of really navigating, I think, the transition from early to mid, and that's given them the opportunity to go this AP heavy build. That way, they're able to secure the objectives a little bit stronger. We do see the Aurelion Soul, interesting enough, splitting into the top lane. I don't know how I feel about this decision and macro decision coming out from the side of Serenity. You're going to have the Gwen be able to answer that, and now there's just no contest onto the Dragon. So the side of TVA has been able to knock down, I believe, just the tier 2 tower and bot with the Baron, but they don't lose anything. They did have the mid tower go down, but nobody was able to collect the gold on that. And then they were able to secure this third dragon to be able to set themselves up for a soul point here in about 5 minutes.
I don't hate that play by Serenity. Like I said, I don't think they would have any position to contest there. They bait out the TP from Gwen, as it looks like they're going all in trying to catch this Gwen before they're able to base. Don't think they're going to be able to, unfortunately. I like that idea. You're not going to be able to contest anyway. Bait out the teleport, and then maybe sometime over the next 5 minutes, look to get an opportunity where either you're catching TVA in a 5v4 and Gwen can't answer, or you're catching Gwen out on their own and they don't have a TP to escape. I think that's potentially a comeback mechanic. Get the kill on Gwen, maybe get an objective bounty on a tower, try to slowly build your gold back up.
Yeah, looking at the mid lane, I think this is really the point where if you're on the Pantheon, you're going to be a little bit scared to step forward and make these plays, as you do see a pretty big CS lead being built up from the Aurelion Soul. And we just haven't mentioned Veigar's name not nearly as frequently as we did earlier on. This is really where the game's going to start transitioning over, as we do see the Maokai ult burned with no advantage here, but they are able to pick out the Wukong. I'm not really sure what's going on in the Wukong's head here, as he is able to get knocked up and ulted from the Rakan, has to flash away to dodge Veigar's snipe. The Wukong just saw that the Maokai ult was down, really no threat, and walked straight into it, as Galsan does have to burn the cleanse, as we do see the team going forward here from the side of Serenity Esports, as they are going to have support gate almost go down. The Shen ultimate has been burned. Plenty of fighting here going on in the mid lane, but nobody ultimately falls down here. Really give credit to the side of TVA to salvage that situation. It looked really bad, but fortunately enough for them, they were able to chunk the Wukong super early, so not a lot of follow-up being shown there, but that could have been really risky here.
Yep, I think Serenity might be listening to the comms. Our cast here is that pretty much exactly what I said they should try to do. They had the opportunity for a 5v4. Gwen was isolated top. They brought in the Shen. They had a numbers advantage, but just from being down, about 4.5, 5,000, they just didn't quite have the DPS enough to get a kill or two back in their pockets, and so ultimately ended up being a bit of a nothing. Camp caught out a little bit, but again, very slippery champ here on the Rakan. No harm, no foul.
Yeah, going back to the draft, just really thinking about how it played out, I think being able to grab this Maokai as first pick on blue side has provided tons of dividends. Again, just super strong blind pike. Is he able to get caught out here from the Thresh? Ultimate is able to get down here, as we do see the Wukong charmed up and is ultimately going to go down here to Galsan. We have a 4v5 at this point with the Pantheon ulting in. He is going to be able to get onto the Caitlyn, and Caitlyn does go down here. No Q being able to come down here, as we do see Galsan blown up by the Aurelion Soul. So ultimately going to be a 2-for-1 trade. ADC going down for the side of TVA, and then both the top lane and jungle for Serenity. This is going to allow TVA to turn onto this Baron. Now, no Rakan ultimate, no Pantheon R, and no Maokai R, but we do see the timer is going to be in favor of this Wukong in about 10 seconds. I don't think there's going to be any successful steal here, but you never know with all the damage coming from Aurelion Souls. We do see the entire team almost get wiped here from that 2 abilities here. The Baron is going to go down here, and stolen from the side of that boy Truth, able to secure the Baron with 19 health. A miss smite here coming over from the side of Damien. Huge opportunity for that boy Truth to put the dominate and domination coming through here, eating your words from the preseason power rankings.
Yeah, I think that was just a little overzealous from TVA. You don't have the I mean, you have the Gwen doing DPS on the Baron, but you don't have the Xayah. You're not killing it particularly quickly with the Maokai Rakan Pantheon. And now that's an objective bounty on the Baron, which, again, kudos to that boy Truth. Pretty huge there. I thought he popped his ult a little early, but I was clearly wrong. They're able to get another objective bounty on, I believe that was the bot tower that went down. And now they have Baron with this soul point coming up, and they certainly don't feel as out of this game as they did just a couple minutes ago.
Absolutely, and we do see here TVA really recollecting themselves and putting themselves into a better position. They were able to set up for this dragon. They have the vision, they have the Maokai saplings, and then they do have the Gwen splitting in the top lane. So we're going to see nobody can match the Gwen at this point. I'm expecting at least that tier 2 to go down, as we do see the ultimate going to come through here from the Shen, as well as the Maokai. Maokai has no flash. He's ultimately going to get taunted and go down. Shutdown going over to the champ there on the Caitlyn. Now there's going to be no jungle available to really contest this dragon, as the side of Serenity is going to be able to secure this. No steal. That's what we're going to keep our fingers for if you're a Serenity fan. Ultimately goes down, and then it looks like Shen's going to be able to TP back to the top lane. Gwen's not going to be able to finish off this tower in time. Only able to get about half, but just really poor execution from the side of TVA over the last 5 minutes, and that's really been able to extend this game, which is exactly what you want if you're the side of Serenity, having the champ have a little bit of a rough early game, as well as giving this Cerulean Soul time to scale up.
Not sure if I agree with that that teleport there. I mean, I know that he didn't have the Baron buff himself. I mean, it does save the tower, but I don't know. Maybe that's a little nitpicky. Definitely kudos to Serenity here, though. They really had a good couple minutes. I mean, I know you said how TVA has been pretty sloppy over the last 5. Don't want to take that away from Serenity, though. I think, yeah, very huge Baron seal. Good catch on the Maokai, who they knew didn't have flash. They caught him in the pit by himself in a position where TVA really, I don't think, had that much business contesting the dragon at that point. It was only the second dragon. It's only a cloud. I don't think that was worth dying for, and although the gold lead hasn't considerably shrunk, they've been able to stop the bleeding, which I think really bodes well as this A-Soul gets stronger and stronger, as they're now at 4 items with some stacks on the Mage Eyes, or the Dark Seal.
Now, something that jumped out at me here, if we're talking about stacks, something that doesn't have stacks, is that Heartsteel coming out for the Shen. I really dislike this build here. You're not going to be matching in the side lane. You really don't want to be taking trades to really build that up. Not to mention you've only recently finished it near 30 minutes into the game. I think that would have been a great Radiant Virtue build here, as we do see Rap Jr. having to potentially get a 2v1 here. We do have the Conqueror proc. The ultimate is coming through here. Wukong ultimate goes through. They are split here. Plenty of damage coming down to Wukong. I think Rap Jr. should be much more confident in these scenarios. The Ghost ultimately does expire. Ultimate down from the Wukong taunt going forward here. Just really bad synergy coming out from the side of Serenity. That's going to be Rap Jr. being able to get the double kill, slice and dice down onto the monkey. Down goes the ninja, and then across the map we do have the kill in the top lane onto Pantheon, but TVA is able to get the engage onto the mid lane, get another kill across the map, a 3-for-1 trade. Typical TVA fashion, just fight after fight after fight across the map, and this time they're coming out ahead by a mile.
And that's exactly what I was just alluding to earlier, that this Gwen cannot be matched. There's no magic resist. I mean, Shen is still building. We'll hold that thought. Actually, Gwen getting kind of low.
Yeah, ultimately goes down to the soul there, yeah.
And he's not done.
No, that boy Truth really trying to rein this game in. He's already done a better job than the jungler being able to secure that Baron for the steal, really able to get their team back into the game, and now they're able to finish off the Gwen, who has really been a problem and is going to keep getting worse. But just that boy Truth really putting the team on his back, and it's getting a little heavy at this point. I'm definitely going to have to take a break from the gym here coming into the next week, but we do have Dragon coming up in about a minute 50, Baron about 40 seconds before that as well. So I'm curious to see if TVA is going to be able to regain some map control here after that great play across the 3 lanes and just really secure this Baron, or if they're going to play a little more slowly and set up for this soul point.
Yeah, if you're TVA, you just have to do what you did there in that last play. Send Gwen off by themselves. Force the Shen to answer you, who is literally worthless in the side lane at this point. I mean, I'm sorry, Swift Life. It's nothing personal, but you've built all armor against a team where your biggest threat in the side lane is a magic dealer. Wukong, I mean, I think if you're Serenity, you just have to hope for a bit of a misplay here. I think TVA has pretty good vision leading up to this Baron. I think that looks to be what they're focusing. It doesn't seem like they're prioritizing Soul, as we see Rap Jr. going all in here with the ultimate.
Yeah, Rap Jr. with the ultimate already going to be ticking down onto the Shen, but all 3 charges being used, but does have a big level advantage. As Shen's already down to about a quarter health, they are going to get moving forward into the jungle. Directed Cam's trolling with us a little bit, but it looks like Swift on that Shen's going to be able to get out of there. Going to get a little bit of the Heartsteel procs, but TVA is just going to be able to keep Gwen in this bot side, really proxying the wave at this point, as they're going to start Baron on the opposite side of the map. Super hard for the side of Serenity to walk through these full AP Maokai saplings, despite the nerfs to both Maokai and Demonic, still definitely going to be hurt here. As we do see a camp get absolutely demolished here, caught by support gaped with that hook, and Aurelian Soul is able to take full advantage of that. We do see Gwen still on the bot side trying to take pressure here, but just so hard for the other 4 of TVA to play around this Aurelian Soul at this point.
Yeah, unfortunately for TVA, both the Dragon Pit and the Baron Pit are circular shaped. Not sure how I feel about that TP escape attempt.
We do see a TP coming through here by the Shen onto the Dragon. Maokai ult does come through, and the side of TVA is able to make the sacrifice Gwen for Soul, as well as TP onto the Shen. I think very, very overeager here on Swift. But ultimately, I think it hurts if you're Rap Jr. knowing you're going down there and not able to get the inhib. But definitely a Soul is a pretty good consolation. As just a ton of freaking damage coming out here from Soul. You do have the Seraph stun, Rylai's, Roa fully stacked, and Deathcap. Almost able to one-shot here the Xayah, as Serenity's going to turn right onto this Baron with no response here coming out from the side of TVA.
Nothing you can do.
And this is we talked about earlier in really the pre-draft lobby, and in Champs. So like once you're able to get this Aurelian Soul into the late game, nobody cares how the early game went. They are just such an absolute menace here. As at this point, they have the most gold in the game by about 2,000 gold. You know what? It's truly just a Dragon difference.
Well, speaking of dragons, at least Team Volatility was able to pick up the Cloud Soul there as Rap Jr. was dying. I mean, I guess if you're looking at that independently, maybe that's worth it. But when you then see that they know that Gwen's going to be down for 50 seconds, and they immediately book it up to the top side. With Gwen having no TP, there really isn't even a stall angle for TVA. So Baron goes over to Serenity, and despite having the Soul, this gold lead is pretty negligible at this point. Definitely can be anybody's game at this point.
Yeah, and to your point, like with it being anybody's game, and we see the lead really collapsing here, support Gabe going to look for an engage, not able to get that with the battle song. But if you're the side of TVA, I guess answering my own question, we do see the Rakan ultimate and the Maokai ultimate get through. We do have tons of CC onto the backline. Pantheon able to get in, but get absolutely one-shot. Nobody is on this. Aurelian Soul in the backline going to get absolutely shredded from the side of TVA. Shen actually ulted into the mid lane. Rap Jr. is going to be able to put some pressure onto these towers. If you're Rap, you just keep going. We do see the Wukong, as well as it looks like the Shen getting back into the base. They're not able to stop. It looks like they're going to be, I think this could potentially be a 2v1 angle for the side of Rap. Not able to get the Conqueror down. I don't know what happened there. It looks like he potentially DC'd. But we do have the Caitlyn and the Aurelian Soul pushing into the mid lane. We still have 20 seconds left on their Con and the Pantheon. Are they able to end?
I mean, Caitlyn can shred through towers very quickly, but it looks like they're gonna opt for a safer play. Try to bring in this bot lane, get this bot tier 2, push up to the inhibitor turret. I think they could have ended there. I think it was just the Pantheon coming up. I mean, the Maokai a few seconds after that. Uh, I don't know. I mean, they are the ones that scale a little better, so maybe they feel like they can afford to give it a couple minutes here. But very interested to see where things go from here, as it feels like that was a bit of desperation from TVA going in there.
I don't even think it was necessarily desperation. I think they saw that they were going to be fighting through the Rakan ultimate and the Maokai ultimate, but just ultimately they were looking at the entirety of the team and not focusing on the soul, which is really the win condition for Serenity at this point. There was no follow-up, and we do see both ultimates being burned here by the junglers, probably in favor for the side of Serenity not having to worry about this Maokai AoE ultimate coming down here. But just in general, like if you're TVA, you have to not only get on top of this Aurelian Soul, which I think they definitely can do with the Maokai as well as the Rakan, but you have to have the follow up there, right? And when you have the Wukong being able to jump forward and get this disruption with the ultimate, as well as the Thresh potentially being able to pull the Soul to safety, the second part of that lockdown and blow up is just so hard for the side of TVA.
This is tight. Rakan trying to find a flank opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's really a smart option here from the side of TVA. They learned that they really just can't brute force from front to back to really get onto the Aurelian Soul, so we're going to look for this different angle here. That is a terrible teleport coming down here from Rap Jr. as the tower does go down. Camp's really caught out here in the backline now. I'm curious to see how aggressive they go. We do see Veigar not able to get hooked here, but it looks like Rakan's able to get out. We do have a 1v1 in the top lane. This is where Rap Jr. has to shine. Swift goes down here. We do not have no in him. Can they stop the bases? Maokai ultimate going to go down here. Battle Song going to go down here. As they are able to lock down, no base is going to come down here, as we do see a huge Aurelian Soul ultimate, but support gate goes down. We do see the Aurelian Soul is down. Nobody's going to be able to answer the Gwen in the backline. Can they stop this Wukong back? They do, and Rap Jr. is going to be able to end the game on the back door. Great play from the side of Rap Jr. to understand that, hey, this is my time to shine, and a great play from TVA to follow that up, stop the recalls, and win the game.
I am shocked that that's how that game ended. As soon as I saw the fight in the top lane, I could instantly just see 45 seconds into the future. I love that Damien and Acamp saw what they needed to do. It's not about winning that fight. It's about stopping this Aurelian Soul and the Caitlyn from getting back and stopping the Gwen. They are able with the Battle Song and the ultimates. They stall it out long enough. And just that split-second decision where it looked like the champ was focusing on trying to get a kill. They pop their ultimate. That allowed enough time for Rap Jr. to, I don't necessarily want to call that a backdoor, but essentially played out the way that a backdoor goes. And so that was just one hell of a game, like honestly, just completely back and forth.
Yeah, like as a first game of the season for both of these teams here, that is definitely something that you're going to look back on, both with excitement, but also with a little bit of regrets here. I think both teams, we touched on it, once that gold gap got down to about 1.5k super late in the game, really was anybody's game to win. And I think it was just really well played from the side of TVA to know specifically what that win condition is. They learned in that mid lane engage, you cannot engage front to back. So you saw a camped on their Khan try to take more of a flank angle. So that was take one that they were able to adjust, and then not necessarily being able to pull the trigger on it, but then two, they understand that the Gwen is the win condition in the split push. The Soul wasn't able to answer it, the Shen wasn't able to answer it, and ultimately for me, that really just comes down to very poor understanding from Swift, and maybe that's more of a team call to say, hey, let's ignore the Gwen if we're not going to be able to win that regardless, so let's over index on the armor and just play for the 5v5. So I don't want to put that solely on the individual, but you have to understand that you have to get at least a little bit of freaking MR at this rate. That was just look like cutting through butter.
I mean, that was a 3.5, 4 item Gwen. I think they had a death cap. Literally the Shen was about as high in the defense category against the Gwen as an ADC was at that point, while also not providing anywhere close to the damage of an ADC. I think I do want to give a lot of kudos to that boy Truth. You know, one game in, he's he's proved me wrong. I mean, to be fair, he's not the only player so far to prove me wrong. As we saw, Misfits Dapper Gav uh, take a huge amount of disrespect to my last place ranking of him in the jungle. But clearly, there's a difference between solo duo play and competitive play. And that boy Truth was really, in my mind, the main reason why Serenity was still in that game, given how far down they were at one point.
Yeah, for sure. And real quick here, I'm probably going to be running over to grab a drink. There's just way too much screaming and yelling. Typical TVA fashion, definitely some banger games before this draft starts. But as I go and do that, from both perspectives, what do you change, or do you change anything with how close that game ultimately came down to?
All right, well, I think Serenity, it's easier to talk about what went wrong, in my opinion. I think there was a lot of itemization issues. I know that there was some talk in chat about what this Caitlyn was building. They went Kraken instead of Gale. They didn't have the Bloodthirster, which I know is like the big item for ADCs right now. And I don't know if they went the Overheal, uh, Rune choice. And then with the Shen, I mean, we talked about it at length with the Shen and the Wukong to a lesser extent. But you see the split pushing Gwen, and you just build literally no MR. You're setting yourself up for failure. That's really how that last play worked out. Was the Shen got eviscerated. The rest of the team is trying to stall, do something on the other side of the map, but they can't get back in time. So I think in terms of draft, I don't know if draft is necessarily the issue for Serenity, but I just think itemization and recognizing what you're playing into really needs to get cleaned up a little bit. I think TVA, I feel like most of the things that went poorly in their favor was due to over aggression. There was, the Rakan going in under the turret, trying to stop a base that led to 2 deaths. There was the Baron take without the Xayah, where Aurelion Souls were able to rain havoc from over the wall, steal the Baron, which then led to the Dragon steal. Subsequently, right after that, Maokai trying to stand in the pit as the enemy team has Baron. I think TVA, it's good to be aggressive, and that's how you build gold leads, but it's also important to know when it's time to relinquish that a little bit and play that more controlled, dictate the pace style. And I think they just need to, pull back the reins a little bit this game. Or as Skibby in chat says, both teams could just play better this time.
I mean, that might be a little bit hard of a fact, at least for Rap Jr. I feel like I'm giving him a ton of credit, maybe too much. But throughout this offseason, as well as game one, this guy's looked definitely like a rock for the side of TVA. From my perspective, I really think they have to be able to enable him a little bit more. When you have such a strong win condition, both from a player but also from a draft standpoint, you have to be able to enable and support that. And I just didn't see enough of that from the side of TVA. Even with a Pantheon in the mid lane, having that roam pressure with the ultimate just almost went bot nearly every single time, or it just being used to get into the backline in a team fight rather than helping the Gwen on the split push. It's very similar to like a Camille Galio comp, if you will. Like, I just want to see this top lane unleashed, man, especially after the end of that game.
Yep, looks like we're diving into this game 2 draft here. We see the Jinx ban early, and it looks like we're actually staying on the same sides, actually. Interesting that Serenity didn't feel like being on red side was a detriment. I know that the feeling of blue side being overpowered has kind of wavered a little bit over the last month or two, but ultimately they decide to stick on this side of the map.
Yeah, and looking on the last draft as well, I mean, we do see the Jinx getting banned here, the Veigar getting banned. I mean, at this point, nothing's been changed. We'll see if the Syndra stays banned. Instead, they swap the Syndra out for the Aurelion Soul. Definitely something smart here. And we do see the Maokai banned away, or potentially banned away here for the side of Serenity. Definitely locked in. Now, if you're the side of TVA, what do you look to first pick? For me, I think the answer is either the Caitlyn or the Xayah, just whatever you think is the preferred option at this point. But I'm curious to see what they'll think here.
It's interesting. They could also just go the early jungle. Actually, that is important to note. They left up the Ashe support, and that is a camp's most played champ in this role. So they're just going to go ahead and first pick that. Really smart pick there, I think. Although I think that probably changes the ADC we're going to see out of Galson.
Yeah, I mean, we still could see a Caitlyn pair with this Ashe to have that lane bullying, and smart by Serenity here to be able to take that away. I would expect them to pair that something. Honestly, I would love. I don't think you see this lane very often at this point, just because Morgana's been nerfed quite heavily. But being able to have that black shield as well as the range, being able to match the range of the Ashe, I would love to see that coming out for the side of Serenity here. But we'll see if they have other priorities.
They're gonna go ahead and grab the Caitlyn most likely. Hopefully, we see a little bit more dominance coming out early on. Is I think Nautilus. I mean, it accomplishes a lot of the same things that Thresh wanted to do. So I think it's going to come down to more so execution and just a really quick B2, B3 there as we see Graves and Varus picked up.
Yeah, and we did mention that the Singed was left open, and Serenity's not going to let that get banned away in the second phase as they're able to snatch that up. So we do see a little bit of a discrepancy, whereas TVA did not lock down their mid laner, and then Serenity was not able to get a jungler. So that's most likely we're going to see these bans, as we do see already the Yone getting banned into the mid lane. If on the side of TVA, you know you need some stronger follow up from probably top at least. I don't think you're going to get much from the mid lane. But if you're the side of Serenity, how do you look to round out this comp? What specifically are you looking to play for?
I mean, again, I think something in the jungle that can play to this bot lane. I think you really need to get this Caitlyn ahead. We saw last game what happened when it didn't get ahead, and especially into a Varus Ashe. I mean, I know it could be hard, it could be easily tracked by the Ashe Hawk shot. That's a very immobile bot lane. If you get something here that can get in their faces and kind of create a huge issue, I'm just quickly pulling up Lennon Hudson's shampoo. I mean, they play things like Elise. The Amumu was unfortunately banned. I would pick either an Elise or a Vi or just something that can help facilitate in that bot mid, and probably put something a bit weak side up top again.
Yeah, and talking about weak side, we have a resident weak side player, Skibby, joining in here for at least the beginning of this game. Skibby, welcome in. As you see the draft coming through, I know you were able to jump in at the end of game one. What do you think of the adjustments from these two teams so far?
Honestly, what was the first game's draft?
So let me pull that up for you real quick. So we did see just really heavy team fighting from both sides here, but more of a split push, ultimately winning for the side of TVA.
Okay. Honestly, I'm not taking Varus. I'm flexing the Ashe ADC and going Morgana as your support.
Mm-hmm.
The Anivia is not bad because it's decent in a Syndra. I also would have gone with a Jarvan on the side of what's her name?
Serenity.
Serenity. Jesus. Yeah, on the side of Serenity, I would have gone with a J4. I think it's a much better engage. Plus, it's easier to lock down the ADCs. You can get both of them. Is the thought process there?
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I'm a big proponent and supporter of the Jarvan. Personally, I think that is the S tier jungle right now. So I'm shocked to see it go through both drafts so far. I think you hit the nail on the head, but it looks like TVA rounding out their comp with a Nivea, Renekton, Lest. What are your thoughts on that?
I do not like the Renekton pick here. I think you have essentially 3 80 carries. I think you really needed something that can frontline, something that can absorb some damage coming out from the Caitlyn, force Serenity to walk through, like a Scion or like an Ornn. I mean, I know those aren't necessarily Rap Juniors type of champs. And personally, I don't think that the Renekton Mordekaiser matchup feels very good. Maybe the first couple levels you're able to get something going, but the longer that goes, I've used to main Renekton back when I played top, and Mordekaiser was one of my least favorite matchups because it always just felt doomed for me once it got to that level 6 point. So I really, really like Serenity in this specific comp. I don't like what TVA did here.
Yeah, I agree. And I think all of us that really touch base, especially, I know you touch more on the top, Skibby looking into the bot lane. For me, looking at the jungle matchup, I think Graves actually works very well here on its own but throughout the rest of the comp, you really don't have anything to support it, right? And I think that's what really scares me. So if I'm looking at TVA, I think from a lane to lane perspective, I think they have decent matchups, including the jungle. But then the synergy throughout the comp really just, I don't see it yet. And ultimately, what that's going to come down to is TVA able to kind of flip the game this time and generate even more of an early game lead. Because we saw TVA actually come out ahead like the first 5 minutes or so before they kind of gave it away. But what do you guys see as an opportunity for TVA to blow open the early game, if you will? Because really, I think they're going to have to.
Oh, let's give it a go.
Okay. I think if you're gonna have a chance, you need to like be able to stop their push bot lane, which you're gonna naturally have push with double range ADCs.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment Nautilus goes in, you have no escape. It's a problem that you're gonna get caught with your pants down if you're not careful. And if they get a lead bot, Caitlyn will probably just run with it the entire game unless they take cleanse. Because the moment they get CC'd, they're dead.
Yeah, and one thing we saw in pro play, at least that I saw tonight, actually, I forget which game it was specifically, but we did see an Ashe support into the Nautilus matchup. And to your point, like there is no avoiding that. Like you're going to get caught out at some point. So to counteract that specifically early, they obviously have Hail of Blades, but then took Barrier as well on the Ashe. So that way you're kind of just sitting as a lame duck level 1, but you're able to win the trade both at the burst level, but also as they're trying to kite away. So I'm curious to see if a camp picks up on that as well and utilizes that potentially to stabilize that lane early.
Yeah, I think a lot here also depends on how practiced Gauslin and a camp are in the spot lane. I think the real power obviously comes through at that level 6 when you have two, kind of CC ultimates. As we saw in that EG CLG game, you have to go with the Verisar first, set up the Ashar, and allow Varus to build up that Q. I don't know how practiced they are on the spot lane. I know that a camp plays a lot of Ashe support, but with Gauslin recently swapping back to AD carry from the mid lane, I just don't know how practiced he is on it. So, gonna be interesting. Like I said, I definitely think I prefer the Zaya Serenity, and I'm calling that we go to game 3 here.
Maybe we'll get some silver scrapes here in our first match of the season. Would love to see that. But real quick here, Skibby, I know you had some time over in Japan here, and we didn't really talk about that too much. I know we're going to have plenty of time to fill between the draft not starting yet and the delay. So just what were some of your favorite things in Japan? Experiences, people? Obviously, I'm going to assume the travel was not very fun.
Yeah, the travel itself sucks. The flights are absolutely miserable. I mean, it's 13 hours one way, 10 hours the next.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, one of the best experiences, of course, is meeting my boy, a camp, right there, Mr. Support for TVA. This dude took 30 minutes to find me at a train station. Funniest experience of my life.
I'm not surprised by that, but please continue.
There's so many fun things to do, man. Like, karaoke is so much fun. There's just drinking. It's a bunch of college kids in Japan. Like, what else are you gonna do, really?
Oh, that's pretty great. So being back to work for just over a month now, I finally went out with coworkers for drinks Wednesday night for the first time, and I was so tempted to call off Thursday and just enjoy myself, but we're gonna save that for St. Patrick's Day next time.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be next week. But I too have hung out with the camp, unfortunately in person. Back when I was in college still, I was doing an internship over the summer in Williamsport, and he was actually coming from, I believe he was driving from Seattle or in Washington all the way to Virginia to visit family, and decided to stop in Pennsylvania. So we got a camp together. We pulled in Papa Doge and the MVP D Brownie, and went to a baseball game, hung out a little bit. It was actually really fun. Taylor, of course, was force feeding some drinks down my throat as we sat in a right field, but I really hope he's able to perform better on the Rift than he was on any sports field I've seen him participate on.
Hey, I mean, gaming talent doesn't equate to sports talent. So
That is true, or else you'd look like me and run into a wall. But
oh,
for
oh my god.
listen, I'm allowed to make those jokes. But moving
Yeah.
forward, less force. What are your thoughts here for the side of Serenity? Like, I know obviously they have a much stronger comp, but where specifically do you look to play to? You have the Caitlyn, who's supposed to be a strong laner. You have the Mordekaiser, which honestly is probably going to need a little bit of help into the Renekton. Or you have the Syndra that was banned away in game one, but we did see the mid laner put a lot of weight on his back and potentially carry his team through. So, what's the priority here?
I believe he is getting water.
I mean, that does make sense. So, I mean, you can answer
So,
that.
of course, I think you go through Graves. I think if your jungle's falling behind in this game, you're not going to have a chance because top lane's kind of a wash. It's just going to go even for like first 6 levels unless they're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Mid lane is just going to be a stall because Anivia is just going to kind of chill until they can, just clear waves infinitely. Syndra's going to try to engage. If they blow mid flash early, I see maybe an angle where Vi continues to try and gank Anivia.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think you're playing to set up Graves to carry with your bot lane. You want to be scoping out where Vi is, making sure you're playing safe, and then if you can shoot off an Ash Arrow and a Verisol and catch someone and let Graves just get huge, you're going to have a much better time than just trying to, wing your way through it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And 2 points I think you brought up that are really important looking at this jungle matchup specifically. I don't think you were there for the beginning of game one, but Serenity did a really great job of jungle tracking the Maokai first clear from Damien. Now, Damien was just able to find opportunities despite being tracked. I think that's just more of a misplay from the side of Serenity, but they were able to get super deep vision. The Shen did in the topside blue jungle, so they knew exactly where the Maokai started. And then he actually went, and once they confirmed he was full clearing bot side, went and stole the red buff as well as Wukong. So just really good play from the jungle to start out at the level 1. I'm curious to see if now that TVA has the Ashe, are they going to be able to either counteract that early vision and jungle tracking, or is Serenity going to find the opportunity to really gain that advantage? And that's going to be super big for them. I would expect a lot more of a banger to level 1 this game. You have plenty of CC coming out from both sides. I said that last game, but I think they went into much more defensive positioning from both sides. But potentially with their backs up against the wall, I think Serenity is going to look to get something done here with the Nautilus early.
Classic Nautilus trap. I've definitely become less a fan over time of going for invades, especially in the competitive setting. I feel like way too often teams just set up for that traditional 5 stack or 5 point. And I know last game TVA wasn't, but they were fully sitting in a bush, ready for Serenity to come walking through if they did try something. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they try something similar here. I think that Serenity has a much better level 1, and I wouldn't be surprised if TVA either just 5 points or they just try to completely secede pressure in the jungle.
Yeah, I think it's going to be super interesting from the side of TVA. I mean, we asked about where exactly are you going to be playing through for Serenity, but I think the answer is also there for the side of TVA. I think in top lane, personally, I give the edge to Renekton in that top lane matchup. So as the Graves, do you try to play more of a vertical game? But also at the same time, you pick the Ashe bot lane at support to get Prio and bot. So I think this is going to be a really scary situation for the side of TVA, as I think both side lanes are ultimately going to end up shoving as well as looking to get Prio, and the Vi is going to be in a great position to take advantage of that. So if we do have a very low-key level 1 like last time, I think the wave state, specifically in top lane, is going to be super important to keep an eye on to see if that's going to be an opportunity for the Vi to get a good gank off here. But as we're loading in, let's see if there's anything interesting coming out from Keystones or Summoner spells. I don't think there would be anything too out of the ordinary this game, but I want to look to see if we do see that barrier coming out on the Ashe specifically.
Well, moment of truth here as we wait and see it slowly pop up there. It's getting there.
I have never seen it load so slow before. Just building up the anticipation, but we do ultimately see the barrier coming through on the Ashe. I love to see that. And then you do see a cleanse coming down onto the Varus. Personally, I don't like that. I would have liked to see the heal a lot more. I think you benefit both your support as well as yourself. Like, outside of, say, the Syndra stun, I don't think there's much that is reasonable to cleanse. I think it would have been much better, especially as you're into a Mordekaiser, just depending on a QSS as you get into the game. But looking at the rest of the map, we do see a very stock standard level 1 with the 5-point from both teams. We do see the barrier and cleanse being pinged right away from the side of Serenity, understanding what they're up against in the bot lane. From the rest of the map, we do see pretty standard double TP on both sides, as well as we have just nothing crazy. I would have liked to see personally potentially a Ghost or an Ignite coming out from the Graves. There's just a lot of weight coming down onto your shoulder and not a lot of support from your team. Now, obviously, Flash is going to be used in every scenario possible, but personally, I would have liked to see the Ghost. What about you? Anything crazy stand out here, level 1?
I mean, in terms of the setup, no, they just play it pretty safe. I do notice the PTA for Rap Jr. in the top lane on Renekton. I know that this is his preferred keystone of choice on the Renekton. I certainly don't think that it holds up as well in the competitive setting, especially where I think this Renekton is likely going to be left on an island a bit. I mean, when you play Renekton in a competitive environment, you're typically going more of like a tanky-esque, like more of a bruiser, whereas the PTA, you're looking for these like really aggressive trades, building a Bork. I don't love that, but if he's able to build up an early lead against the Mordekaiser, which is his best and really only opportunity to do so against Mord, maybe I'll be a little bit more of a fan.
Yeah, as we get settled here, I want to manual cam up to the top lane here. Let's see. We do see the Renekton getting a little bit of an early shove here. The Vi is pathing away, though, which is super interesting. I would have liked to see the Vi take advantage of that early. Just knowing that the bot lane is going to be shoving, I think we're going to have a pretty big fight here, level 3, with both the Graves and the Vi there. I'm hoping the Graves just goes for a red buff into bot, but we'll see. Looking across the map, if you're the side of TVA, how do you play around the two side lanes that are both pushing at the same time?
Well, I think Renekton definitely has the ability to avoid potential conflict early if they're able to use their slice and dice in an effective manner if Vi is ganking. Obviously, a really good ward there actually by Camp, I believe, to spot out the Vi, who went for a 2 camp into bot lane, but I don't know if that's enough to save Galsan.
No, as we do see the cleanse actually come out too early, not able to cleanse off the damage from the Ignite, so both summoners have to be used here for Galsan. Super early, we touched on just, I don't think the cleanse is super valuable. Big hook there, actually missing from support gaped. But we do see Graves looking for an invade, trying to catch the Vi one-on-one in her jungle. Super low health as well. Looking to see here, is he going to be able to pick up an early kill? The Vi is down to about 20% health. Just needs an auto, and first blood going on to Damien. Huge play from the Graves, as we do see now. TVA is going to be able to play aggressive here. The Nautilus is chunked as well. The barrier was also burned from the Ashe, so I'm assuming while the Vi was dying, a hook probably landed from the Nautilus, and they were able to trade and get barrier for health essentially traded there. But bot lane is going to be slow pushing. They're going to be on a much safer spot, and just really well played from the side of TVA. They did have to burn summoner spells, but no first blood going over. And then because they had that jungle tracking, the Graves was able to take full advantage this time around.
Super heads up there by Damien. He suspected that Vi probably wasn't basing, as we'll see a hook and likely not much else. Got that play onto the Vi in her side of the jungle. Look, I don't want to say that was disrespectful, because you want to try and keep the pace up after you really only did, what was 2 camps into a gank, but unfortunately just really heads up from Damien there, and that's an early lead for this Graves.
Yeah, and we do see the Graves looking to revisit this bot lane, has a tempo advantage on the Vi. Camp's going to go down despite flashing away. Kill going over to the champ, but Damien's going to be flashing forward. Flash comes out from support gate, and nothing going to be had here. As we do see Galsan walk onto a trap, breaking his mama's back. going down to the champ there. A 2-for-0 trade, ultimately coming out for the side of Serenity here, getting an early game advantage. Rap Jr. is going to have a lot of negative trades here with such a huge wave as well. Just great play coming from the bot lane of Serenity.
And this is what I was worried about with that bot lane. You have no escapability. It's just they go in, you die. It's an unfortunate situation, but you have to figure out where to adapt from here. How do you prevent yourself from dying like that again? Personally,
I think it comes.
Yeah,
I was gonna say. I think
not some of the Caitlyn trap.
I mean that is definitely step one. I think step two, and it's gonna be tough because you're gonna be calling for your jungler's attention all game. But when you're the Graves, you want to create your own win condition, right? So how do you not only support? You have to support this top lane because you want to get Renekton into a good spot so he can actually frontline. You have to be able to bail out this bot lane now that they weren't able to get really any early advantage and really in a huge deficit, and then third, you want to be able to carry yourself. Like, Damien is in such a tough spot right now. Speaking of tough spots, you do not want to be farming under tower as a Nivea with no mana either. So really curious to see how TVA navigates the rest of this game now that they're on the back foot.
Yeah, I mean, top lane's already, I would say, going a little poorly for Renekton. I mean, the farm's about even, but this is the point in the game where Renekton should be able to have an advantage on the Mord, and he's not able to create that. They have the level 6s now, and again, ult for ult, I 100% would prefer to be Mordekaiser in this situation. So we'll see what Vi looks to do here. Just looks to be clearing camps. Neither team really posturing for this early dragon. We'll have to see if they would instead opt to go for an early Rift Herald, try to get some gold onto this Caitlyn who's already ahead, maybe accelerate this Mordekaiser. A lot of options for Serenity at the moment.
And speaking of options, either of you can give me a little bit more insight into here. Definitely not an aficionado of the Renekton as Hook mishes down in the bot lane. But if you're Renekton, you know you're going to end up having to frontline. What do you want to see? Yeah, I was going to say we don't even have an opportunity to talk because we do see the ultimate going to come down here. The flash forward to actually secure that ultimate from Swift, as we do see Renekton get a nice trade, but great timing from the Vi with the Q onto Rap Jr. Rap goes down, not even able to flash away. So flash and ultimate burn from the Mordekaiser, just ultimate from the Renekton. I don't even get to talk about items before he dies, and then we see a Vampiric Scepter come through.
It's not a bad play, though, saving your flash there. Because I think even if he does, he gets flash followed by Vi.
I agree.
Yeah, I third that statement, as we do see the side of TVA able to answer on the opposite side of the map, getting that dragon. Then also, this is more so what I like to see, is them pairing up together the Anivia and the Graves to get not only deep vision, but start taking away camps to build that advantage on the Graves. It's super tough as a jungler to understand, hey, I might have to just leave my top and bot lane out to dry, but the Graves is going to have to carry this game from my perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely think just give up on top. Let Swift Life have the fun this time. Rap Jr. got to dictate the pace things last time, but he's already off to a bit of an early lead. Don't think it gets any better. And again, bot lane, the champ is definitely faring a little better this time in farm. I mean, right now it's even, which hopefully with this item advantage, it's about 700 gold lead. We can see him expand this out a little bit.
Yeah, as we do see Hook not able to land, not able to finish that minion off, but we do have a lane gank coming in from a level 6 Vi. Damien looks like he's sniffing this out, though. Both teams do know that the Tribush is warded. Really about to blow up here is no ultimate on the Ashe or the Nautilus, but Hook is going to land onto the Ashe. Flash Q from the Vi able to go down. Plenty of roots coming out from the Varus ultimate and the Vi ultimate. No kills being traded over. Veigar is seen on the ward as Syndra's able to get a recall off as well. It looks like Graves is going to keep trying to push forward. Please don't flash forward, Veigar. Oh my goodness, the aggression coming out from Damien. Going to get hooked under tower, and down goes the Graves. A 4-0 start for this Caitlyn. Going to have herself an 1,100 gold lead 9 minutes in. This is the early game turnaround you wanted to see from the side of Serenity.
Yeah, I gotta say, while we've got a momentary lapse in action here, I'm gonna go back to that content piece I put out, and I spoke with. Actually, it looks like that's not gonna amount to anything. This DeChamp 316 in the bot lane. When I asked him who to look out for on his team, He named himself, and he said he's an actual college professor who can still win and is looking to take the enemy to school. Well, ga- game one didn't fare so well for him, but this game he is certainly off to a massive start. Already has Berserker Greaves, and we'll see if he goes. I would hope he goes more of the offensive Gale Force build here this time.
No, I fucking love that. And before you jump in, Skibby, just want to make a point about the LBLCS. You love the amount of variety and backgrounds we have jumping in here. It's obviously we're here for a nice competitive atmosphere. You want to win, but at the same time, we're here to have a good time and just a different environment that not everybody gets to partake in. So whether you are a college student, even a high school student, you have college professors, you have working professionals, east to west coast, wherever, just a bunch of different backgrounds and perspectives. I absolutely love that.
Absolutely. It's a great experience for anybody looking to get get their beak wet with a semblance of competitive gaming. But
Absolutely.
get a little fight here in the top lane.
Yes, we do see Rap actually come out ahead of that trade finally. I think the Renekton into Mordekaiser matchup's just so interesting because it comes down to more of a skill. Are you able to... Talking about skill, I can't even finish the point as we do see Galsan's going to absolutely get smacked here to Champ picking up the kill thanks to the minions again, starting out 5-0 as we do see Flash coming out because of the Vi ultimate. As we do see the Renekton's going to get absolutely shredded here. Is he going to be able to get out with a sliver of health? It looks like it, but the Vi is ultimately going to go down as well. Able to get one kill. The Ashe ultimate does not land as we do see a 2-for-1 trade from top to bottom across the map. One lane we haven't talked about is this mid lane and the Anivia Syndra matchup. Veigar's done a really good job as we see the benefits of the labor here, but just really crazy early game, very well for the side of Serenity Esports.
And definitely support Gabe looks a lot more confident on this Nautilus. I don't necessarily know the extent of like their champ preferences in terms of order. Like I said, I went through the OPGGs. I saw he likes these hook style champs, but really just seems to be much more comfortable and much more confident to go for these plays on the Nautilus with the hook as he's looking to roam on the Anivia, but is spotted out. Not sure if he's... Looks like he still wants to go for it, but I don't think there's a play there for him, unfortunately.
Aaron and Skibby, what are your thoughts on the Moby Boots rush for support gate specifically? You have the Caitlyn who starts 5-0, clearly is a huge win condition for your team. In my thinking, why do you want to build Boots to get out of that lane, or am I missing something?
I think that's a question more for Aaron here.
All right, so as the support player, I don't like that at all. I think you're going against 380 carries and a Renekton who's going to be building damage. I think that just going tabbies and being that front line for your team just makes way more sense. Be there to support the Vi going in with the ultimate, go set up the Syndra for her ultimate, set up the Caitlyn for traps. Like, I don't think you necessarily need the Mobies to get out and impact other lanes. I mean, I guess Caitlyn is so far ahead right now that you could make the argument you don't need to do a whole lot, as it looks like they might be trying to set up something, a couple tower shots there.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rap Jr. is already down to about half health here after taking 2 shower shots, and they don't know that Veigar is here yet, but they do have 4 members here for the Mordekaiser who does have ultimate. They are able to CC, 100-0, great CC train from the side of TVA, great communication, and Anivia is just going to be able to TP back to the mid lane. Chunked there, but is able to get back in time. Now, if you're Galsan, you got to run as he is able to get the flash hook from support gate. We do have flash and ultimate coming down from the Vi. Is going to go down to the tower as well. Trades 1-for-1. Just super aggressive from Lennon Hudson here on the Vi. That's 2 times now going for the dive and ultimately dying. That time flashing and ultimate in despite already having the lockdown. Just not optimal from the Vi. Helps for Galsan to pick up that kill, but Caitlyn is going to be able to take down this first tower before top goes down.
But you understand how it is. You want to get the KP. You want the... that when these screenshots get posted at the end of the series, you want it to seem like you had a little bit more impact on the game, even if it maybe wasn't the right play.
Yeah, it is quite a misplay that the Nautilus did not lead initially to tank the tower. But I do want to point out the Caitlyn did go the Kraken. But I think Gale Force is a much better option in this game because you don't really have that much you have to punch through. There's not a true tank on the enemy team.
Yeah.
So by the time you have 3 items, the extra damage from Kraken's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, it's just so tough. Again, from somebody who doesn't really play in the bot lane, I can understand. You're like, hey, we're super far ahead. I'm going to have Nautilus and Vi really pulling the trigger, so I don't think the side TVA is going to have pressure to get onto me. So let me just maximize the damage while they're stuck dealing with everybody else. But at the same time, as we do see a ton of damage coming onto the Vi again, able to get out, but no, the Ash R does land. That great prediction. That's what we're going to go with from TVA camp to land that. Big for the Renekton to get that gold as well. But if I'm the Kate, again, going back to that point, I feel like TVA is not going to be able to get on top of me or focus me, so that's why I want to maximize my damage. But maybe that's the exact opposite. We do see another flash ultimate forward. Galson, this is where Cleanse is not going to help you, buddy.
Feet.
Plenty of sidesteps here as Ash is coming down here. No flash up, probably going to be about 20 seconds late, and Swift's going to get the kill here.
At the very least.
Yeah, very well played from Swift, understanding that he has the opportunity to flash ult forward, and there's not going to be any repercussions here coming out of that.
And Galson not quite having the same level of success he had in that first game. Not sure if it's due to the Xayah being a little bit more comfortable for him, or if it was just, unfortunately, the execution here this game, as we see the Nautilus get the hook on the Anivia.
Ooh.
Yeah, and we do see the Ignite come down here. Not going to stick on as they go into egg form. Syndra still has ultimate, but they're going to back off of this and really just trade the Nautilus Ignite and ultimate for the Anivia Flash and Egg. And that's going to be super important here in about a minute 30 when the Cloud Drake spawns.
And this is just that benefit of having that better bot lane early on this time. You have the Nautilus who's able to go around and make plays around the map and not have it completely sandbag his team, as he's just here again. That's going to be a dead Anivia.
Yeah, as we do see that boy Truth being able to pick up that kill, has the CS advantage, but to your point, support gaped is more so making it mid-gaped as well, basically sitting in this lane for the last 2 minutes. D Brownie would be tilted off the face of the earth. But just really well played. I really was questioning, I think we all were, the Moby boots, but Nautilus putting those to use, making that conscientious decision, knowing how they want to play this game.
Absolutely. I think definitely your best bet here for TVA. If you're down, you need to find a way back in. You need to just focus on getting bot side control for this next dragon, but don't overcommit. If you overcommit to the fight, you're more likely just going to keep falling further and further behind. You look for, oh my god, that is some pain for the Mordekaiser. Anyways, if you look for a pick about 30 seconds before the dragon, if you can get the jungler with the Ash arrow, it's going to be your best bet.
Absolutely, and we do see the boots of lucidity coming out from the Ash as well to kind of help build towards that CDR build. We do see the rotation coming out after dropping the Rift Herald from Serenity. They have full vision here. We do see the Syndra was trying to get a base off, but we do see plenty of action breaking out, not able to get that back off in time. Rap Jr. is going to take plenty of damage, sticking around here for quite some time, not able to flash over the wall because of the Mordekaiser ultimate, but we are able to kill the Vi off. Damien's getting huge damage output into this fight as we do see a double kill. 3 kills coming down here for the side of TVA. Flash forward coming out from that boy Truth. The Anivia ultimate going to get the slow, and no Q coming out from the Caitlyn. Plenty of CC coming down onto that boy Truth, but this Caitlyn is hurting in the backline as we do have a 3-for-2 trade in favor of TVA, but no dragon coming down here.
Just some very unfortunate flashes there for TVA. First, Rap Jr. trying to go over the wall, coming out the Mordekaiser ult, came up just short. And then Galson there trying to escape the powers of the Cloud Dragon. Couldn't escape, so those are 2 unfortunate sums down for essentially no reason. But yeah, it was a great start there by Rap Jr. to get in on that Caitlyn with the Empowered W, force her out of the fight almost immediately. But ultimately, it was a 3-for-2. They're able to take the mid tower, and looks like we're just going to have this dance again here.
Absolutely, and this time just taking note of any flashes up, we do have Nautilus as the only person in the game with their flash available. Are they going to look to use that here, as we do see plenty of trade, and the Ash ultimate does land onto the Caitlyn. That's a lot of damage, not in this fight, and we do see the shutdown going down onto Damien. We do see a shutdown in return coming out for that boy Truth. Plenty of damage, plenty of kills. Mordekaiser is here in this fight, and Acamp's ultimately going to go down here. 2 for 2 trade across the board, but we do have both junglers down. That boy Truth was able to secure a Baron last game. Going to look to see if he can secure a Dragon here.
A little harder on the Syndra.
And because of that, they're going to look to pull off, as we do see a great macro play from the side of TVA, taking down that mid lane tower, pulling the side of Serenity off the Dragon, and now they're going to look for a potential pick. It does look like we have some assistance pinks coming out from the side of Serenity, so they kind of know what's going on here, but they're just going to answer in return, getting control of this mid wave.
Yeah, it does seem as though they are just going to go straight back to that Dragon. It should be theirs without much contest at this point. You are too spread thin as TVA.
Yeah,
However,
absolutely.
I do think, did Graves get the shutdown on Caitlyn?
He did, yes, and then gave over a shutdown to the Syndra.
Yes, but that is a lot of gold in the pocket of Graves now, and it should set him up in a much better position to potentially one-shot the Caitlyn, which is probably the easiest way for them to stand a decent chance to continue through this game.
Yeah, and one thing we see here just coming out from the side of TVA that I like, they weren't able to fully execute, but they knew, as we do see a lot of damage coming through here from the Syndra onto Graves. Hook doesn't land onto a camp so close there. But overall, just I think they saw that they had no chance to secure that Dragon afterwards, so they tried to dive the Caitlyn onto the top tower. I think they were just scared to pull the trigger. They didn't know necessarily where everybody was, but I would have loved to see them really be a little more aggressive there, knowing that they've already rotated into that position. Speaking of position, here we are setting up for the Baron dance here, about 21 minutes into the game already. For the side of TVA, I've noticed nobody is really able to get the QSS tax started yet. I don't know if Damien on the Graves is going to be able to get that, or if he's going to go more into a Hex Drinker to help into the Syndra as well. I'm really hoping to see a QSS, so that way he's able to get out of the Mordekaiser ultimate, but we shall see moving forward.
I do think that it is, if Mordekaiser does ult the Graves, I think he might just die. I don't know if he stands a chance against the Graves, especially the fact that he has Eclipse and Black Cleaver. If he does finish his Hex Drinker, which it does look like he will with the items he has in inventory, it's going to be very hard for him to do any damage to the, or for the Mordekaiser to do much damage to the Graves by the time they're in a 1v1.
And we do see the Ash Arrow does miss coming down, but ultimate burned by Rap Jr. As we do see Galson caught out, rotating over. Great play from the side of Serenity to understand that they're going to be trying to make the play onto the bot side, and they are going to turn right onto this Baron here coming up now with no Graves ultimate and no Ash ultimate as well. This should just be a free Baron.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just noticing here, I took off my headset for about 30 seconds, so cut me off if you already talked about it, but did we acknowledge the Prowler's Claw Renekton here? Is there going for
I saw it, but we did not touch on it, as we do see a TP coming out as TVA decides to contest this Baron, as we do see the Graves going to go down to that boy Truth. Once again, another kill, ultimately getting a Rampage. Back-to-back games starting out super strong for that boy Truth. Definitely putting the Truth in getting this W, as we do see Renekton's going to be able to trade for this bot lane tier 1, but bot lane tier 1 for Baron and a kill, definitely not optimal.
Yeah, and I think, well, for one, I think that was just not a situation where you had any business walking up. You have Renekton on the other side of the map, and you have Varus in base, in the Nexus to be more specific. I don't know why they tried to walk in there. Maybe they felt stronger than they actually were. That's going to lead to a free Baron. And I also want to mention the comment in the chat from Cavino Tocino, which is exactly what I called out at the start of this game. Like, TVA has no front line. They cannot do anything in these fights. Like, the Renekton is building pure damage as he has another 2 long swords. Graves is building damage. I mean, there's nobody to sit and soak up damage from this fed Caitlyn, from this fed Syndra.
Yeah, one thing I see here, Skibby, I don't know how you feel about it. I was going to ask, why are you on Kate building cleanse, or taking cleanse, but then building QSS?
I just don't agree with that. I think if you're gonna get Varus ulted, or it's going to be the Ashe ult first every single time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're by your team, you should be able to cleanse it, and then if the Varus ult follows, if you get hit by that after that point, it's kind of unfortunate. But I would I would not be buying QSS if I took cleanse because there's not a uncleansable spell that TVA has on their team.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of with Galson having cleanse, it really has no value against the Mordekaiser ult because Mord is just you cannot cleanse that ability. So it's quite unfortunate that we're wasting money on the QSS in my own opinion, but if the Caitlyn is afraid of getting CC chained, I see what the problem is, but you got a fight breaking out.
Yeah, I was going to say, talking about CC chain, Damon's going to get here, barely able to get an E off, and ultimately is going to go down. We do see plenty of Anivia damage, but is going to run out of mana right here. Does have Egg, tries to flash away, not able to get killed here, but we do have a 1-for-0 trade here, as Damien's going to go down with Dragon coming up in about 25 seconds. This should be the third Dragon for the side of TVA. Prowler's Claw into the Mordekaiser, flash forward, able to get the kill here. Big shutdown for Rap Jr. Talk shit all you want about the damage, but in a 1v1 setting, Renekton's going to win that fight.
It is a good trade, at the very least. If you can get the tower, it is a lot better, but it does seem like he's just going to recall here. In the top lane there.
Yeah, super interesting decision to recall there. There's no way you know that Vi actually backed. If I'm Raps Jr., I'm expecting the entire team to be down securing this dragon. But it is what it is. We do see the Renekton's finally able to take advantage of that damage build that he is going. And at least that gives the TVA's team a little bit of confidence that they're going to have another win condition on this split push. As we're going forward here, Aaron, I was going to ask you, great time to jump in. Let's look at these items. What are your thoughts here? Anything standing out?
Well, we already touched base on the stopping for QSS, given how far ahead that they are. I think that the Knight's Vow is a very good pickup for the Nautilus. There's no need for like a Michaelis this game. I guess they do have ultimates that you could see, Michaelis from, but they already have cleanse. Looking at the rest of this, I mean...
Oh, we got an Ashe ult.
I don't know if that's
It did land onto the Caitlyn and forced the cleanse as well.
Out of Caitlyn.
Nice. Just
I'm
the
surprised
direct
they used the cleanse instead of the QSS there.
Probably just reactionary at that point.
Yeah. But, yeah, like he was saying, the Knight's Vow is a very good option to protect your ADC. I do really like the Locket as well. I think that's a great decision to just make sure that Caitlyn doesn't get burst. Other than that, I don't see... Let's see. Okay, we got a camp. He's almost got that Imperial Mandate coming up. That'd be a good spike in his damage. But other than that, all the builds look normal.
Yeah.
Just taking a trip to the library here is actually Mordekaiser maybe getting caught out.
And interesting enough, the Varus ultimate did land before Mordekaiser was able to press R, so that gave Damien the opportunity to really start stacking up and is going to be able to flash away. So it looks like they have to flash forward to finish off Swift, but Rap Jr. dies on the opposite side of the map. They did use Vi ultimate on Rap Jr., so not going to have that to really pressure this Anivia. And the Anivia wave clear is going to be pretty significant. If there's one thing going for the side of TVA, they've really slowed down the pace of this game, which is pretty beneficial for the Anivia. And I think the side of Serenity is lacking some wave clear, especially if you're able to find a pick and create like a 4v4 with either the Syndra or the Caitlyn going down.
Yeah, the Syndra is going to be quite a problem, as they're now up to 18 stacks of that Mage Eyes.
Oh, man.
And they've got
when that Rabadon's is done, it's going to be a lot of damage. We do see the Radiant Virtue coming through now on the Vi, so that's going to be really good for them to survive as they go in. I did want to... I just remembered a comment I was going to make is the... at least on the side of TVA, it is just a Cloud Drake and not something stronger. It is a light at the end of the tunnel, if you will.
Now, I do have a question. As you're talking about a light at the end of the tunnel for TVA, does a Serpent's Fang on the Renekton kind of put a damper on that light at the end of the tunnel?
Oh my lord!
I respect the commitment to the bit. They're not half-assing. They're not trying to go any kind of tank. They're just
it does. it is being pointed out there in the chat that Mordecai or not Renekton does have a shield break in his kit. I get the idea because there's a lot of shields on the side of Serenity, but it is an interesting buy to say the very least.
Yeah, as we're looking at interesting, we did see the TP burn from the Mordekaiser to get to the Baron, but Serenity's just going to use that opportunity to go for the tier 2 in top lane, and TVA is going to try to answer that with getting for the tier 3 in mid lane. We do have a Nivea going back to try to clear the wave. We do see the stopwatch coming down for the for the Nautilus ultimate, does get stopwatch, goes into egg, as we do see Ashe is back in time, but this is just going to be a trade inhib for inhib, and honestly, flash forward, oh my goodness, Ashe just cannot be stepping up that far when you are alone. Rap Jr. is ultimately going to be able to finish off, I think, this Mordekaiser and the inhib, but it looks like Serenity says, fuck our top laner, fuck the inhib, let's just go for the win.
Yeah, they will seem to back off here. I think Rap Jr. should keep going.
Yeah, have we seen this?
We
saw this game
deja vu coming in as we do see the teleport coming through for the Syndra. Are they going to be able to get? Does not stop the TP,
Wait,
but
yeah,
able to flash forward. Doesn't have Prowler's Claw available though. Is going to go down here to the Vi eventually. It looks like not able to get the kill. Yeah. So I mean, ultimately that is an even trade across the board. And if you're the side of TVA, when you're 4K gold down, you take an even trade.
Absolutely.
We do have Dragon coming up in 12 seconds as well, and it looks like TVA is in a much better position to be going for it.
We probably should see the Dragon come out on the side of TVA, but if I'm Serenity here, I'm calling to go to Baron.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You've got Caitlyn and you've got your Vi and you have the Syndra up. You absolutely just go and do the Baron.
And
go to Dragon, it's just kind of a free one.
Yeah, and if you're Serenity, you see that Renekton does have TP, but has 10 seconds left on this timer. I think TVA is just making the conscientious decision to not even contest it, which is ideal. But then at that point, you're going to have to try to figure out how do you play against a team that at least I mentioned, has a little bit of a weakness in terms of wave clear. But when you get that Baron buff, that necessarily negates the advantage you have from an Anivia sieging into them. Hook forward.
Oh, here we go.
Plenty of fights. No time to really talk about as we do see support cape go down. But we do have Galson picking up plenty of damage. We do see 2-for-0 trade coming through here. 3-for-0. Get some count in here. Oh, we do have a kill going down onto a camp. So not perfect. Plenty of flashes being burned. Plenty of ultimates being burned. But this is a great position. 3-for-1 for the side of TVA right after a Baron as well.
Absolutely. It's a great decision to go in. It's a great way to capitalize on the inadvisable decision by the side of Serenity. I think you're playing a Caitlyn comp and you have Baron, you just sit there and let the minions siege. You have absolutely no reason to go in. At the point you're at, you just want to sit there with the Baron and your long range and let it push. You don't have to fight because you're just going to give up more than you gain diving a tower.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing to make note of, genuinely, we've shat on this Renekton's build the entire game. But he's doing tons of damage in that team fight setting and is able to win the 1v1 as well. So as much as we're hating on TVA not having a front line, I think they're playing around that well enough. And similar to last game, big gold lead for one side. But seriously, this is still anybody's game.
Oh, we got an Ashe coming out here.
Yeah,
lands
on the Mordekaiser. Probably going to be up in about 20 seconds anyway. Holy shit, look at that CDR on the ultimate coming through here. But at this point, for either side, what is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back?
Ints. I think inting is going to be the big what if here.
I still definitely think that the game should be in Serenity's control. They've got Baron for at least a little bit. They have the gold lead, and in 3 minutes, do we see them make that similar trade again? I mean, Dragon's up a full minute beforehand, so it's not as if they're going to just give that up for no reason. Maybe they look to pick here on Rap.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like either side's going to send this here or any additional support. We're going to see here Rap ultimately does go down, so just Vi ultimate use for that, but that's going to be 50 seconds of free range in this 4v5 setting. And now again, no Baron left on Caitlyn after about 30 seconds, I'd say here. So the question is, can Serenity try to siege while they have Baron?
It's gonna be hard into Anivia. Great for wave clearing.
As it goes down on this wave, you have the Anivia R, you have the Varus, Q being able to take down. Now it is not lethality or poke Varus. And Skibby, what are your thoughts on that? There's a little bit of talk in the chat just comparing the on hit compared to more of a poke build. But we do see some fights. Galson is living a little bit longer than anticipated.
Yeah.
I don't know. What would you have done?
I don't mind the on hit because of the fact that he has the shield. Why can't I think of the item name? From Shield Bow. Good lord.
You were halfway
From
there,
Shield
don't worry.
Yeah, I said shield, didn't I? No, but the item from Shield, or the shield from Shield Bow is good because they're going to be diving him, but I think he needed to go lethality this game to actually have more of an impact, because he's not going to do much if he gets Vi-ulted or Nautilus ulted. Regardless of having that shield, you're pretty much going to be one shot if you get caught at all.
For sure, and we do see Damien walking in here. Plenty of damage. Ashar definitely wide left here, as we do see the side of Serenity coming in onto the camp, but not able to follow up with the Nautilus. So we do have a lot of vision set down here for Serenity for this soul. If you're TVA, do you contest this?
I mean, it's hard because I mean it is this Rap is just completely burst out there. I mean, it's always hard to just give up the soul with really no counterplay, but with the way that the waves are so far in your side of the base, there really isn't an opportunity for a counterplay, and the fact that both Rap and Damien got so low there, I think you just have to give this up and just be grateful that RNG made it a Cloud Soul.
Oh God, TV youngster Joey would never give up this here, but we do see the side of TVA deciding, hey, this is only Cloud Soul. We can make do, as we do see a lot of damage coming through here from Damien onto the Mordekaiser after the Ash R landed. Definitely have to flash over. With Baron coming up in a minute, maybe that's an opportunity for the side of TVA here to find a pick.
With the Ash ult coming up very soon, we may see something shot, but I think everybody's too spread thin at the moment. However, I do see an opportunity at the next Baron. If you can get a good position there for TVA, it is potentially, you can trap the enemy team in the Baron pit. If I'm Serenity and I have that in mind, I'm positioning the Caitlyn on the other side of the wall and just letting her hit Baron from behind the pit. But we'll see if that ends up being the play as they go in here on Damien.
Flash is being burned from both junglers here, as the Vi's going to take a trip into the back line. Able to get Q through the other side of the wall, not being able to stop. Almost goes down here. Radiant Virtue Healing paying tons of dividends, but TVA is going to live through that engage and able to get through the setup that Serenity had onto the Baron. We don't see the Vi able to get a back off, though. Vi's at 20%, no health. It's ultimately going to come down to a steal, I think, as we do see the Mordekaiser able to ult the Graves. This is what we talked about. He does not have QSS, but he's going to go for the solo kill. Able to stack up armor in this ultimate as well, as we do see plenty of damage coming through onto the backline. Front Rap Jr. does able to take down the Syndra with the shutdown, as we do see a 2-for-1 trade so far. Support Kate Gilbas in, gets the kill here. Double kill for Galson. Ash ult does miss, but ultimately comes down to a 1-for-3 for the side of TVA here. Jungle is down, so should just be able to smite this away. Now, we did see a Baron steal last game. Can the champ steal this away with a Q? 3k health, 2k health. Down goes the Baron to TVA, and they are right back in this game.
What a play from Rap Jr. there. The flash, slice and dice onto the Syndra just completely took her out of the fight. What? This guy clearly is proving me wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about. Going this Giga Chad solo duo Renekton was clearly the right call. And now TVA is in the forefront.
This last whisper here.
Listen, if you're going to lean into it, go in full force, man.
Well. I think if you know you're just going to be a dive bomb and that's really your only purpose, I like it, but I would have liked to see maybe a Black Cleaver or perhaps even a Death Dance on the side of Renekton, it could have been better with the chance of just surviving longer
Mm-hmm.
and being able to put out more damage.
Even a GA, I think, would have been pretty valuable as well.
That too. It could have been a good option. I do like the GA here on the Graves. It just makes him even harder to kill, and considering he is the one playing forward most of the time, it's a good option.
Cleanse being
Cleanse
burned
out of it.
from the Caitlyn. Now, obviously, it's hard to tell how much pressure you're under, or
You get hit.
yeah, once you get hit, you're kind of frantic. They are able to stop the vibe back. She blast cones into the team. We do not have Ashe ultimate up,
Yeah.
only on about half cooldown. But overall, like, it's going to be a big opportunity. We saw that with the Mordekaiser having to flash away. TVA took advantage of that at the Baron pit, and now cleanse down on the Caitlyn. But speaking of like cleanse or QSS, not a single member of the side of TVA has bought a QSS. I never would have expected that playing into a Mordekaiser, especially with 3 ADCs essentially. But be damned what we say at this point in the game, as we see that is tons of fucking damage coming out here, as we do see the Vi ultimate onto the backline. We do have the stopwatch coming down here. Swift is in the ultimate onto Galson. Galson's going to be able to finish him off. That's a huge shutdown, as we do see 5 still alive for the side of TVA. Down goes Vhagar. Can Rap finish off that boy Truth? No, Lennon Hudson able to get the kill. That is a 3-for-2 trade so far into the Baron team. Very interesting here. Now let's see what the side of Serenity is able to pick off with this one-man advantage.
It was a very interesting engage there.
Yeah, as we do see a
TP
camp
coming out.
caught out here, able to go
Ooh, good
down by
dodge.
one shot. Caitlyn gonna be
Probably
able to
dead
finish it
either
off.
way.
Yeah, due to the Cloud Drake, and then we do see on the in the mid lane, Galson goes down as well. This is gonna be
Without
a
using the vial.
very, very interesting. We have about 25 seconds on the Anivia. Same with the Renekton. Is this Syndra and Caitlyn able to finish this game in these 20 seconds?
We're gonna see here. I do believe if the Anivia can get back up, it is a potential that you may be able to clear the wave.
Like, you
But I
gotta
think as
clear this
Graves, you have
wave.
to just ult it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You gotta.
Speaking of ult, we do see the Vi ultimate come down. We're going to have the Nautilus ultimate come
TP,
down. We're going to have the TP
Mordekaiser.
coming in. And it looks like the side of Serenity is going to take game 2 and send us to a
Going
game
game
3.
Whew.
Back-to-back bangers from these teams to start out season
Only
of
bangers.
LBLCS. This is just, what a series so far.
Absolutely.
And we still got one more game to go. This is gotta hurt the vocal cords there from you as the play-by-play. Man, TVA kept that going way longer than I thought they would. I think there were a lot of good plays that they made, but ultimately I think just the Syndro just was an absolute nightmare. I mean, we saw it in that last play where just hitting the stun and the ult just completely took Anivia out of the fight, and they were able to just march it down and win from there.
Absolutely. I would like to see where the draft adaptation comes from TVA here. How are you going to manage to deal with this Caitlyn here? Because if you're not first picking it, it is not something you should be giving up knowing they're going to play it. If you could, Joey, could you show the first game's draft again real quick?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I just want to see. Okay, so they did go Caitlyn again, and then was it banned in game 2? Or wait, no, we just watched game 2. Wow, I'm trolling. Okay, so we are seeing Serenity going Caitlyn both games. I would like to see either a ban or a higher priority out of TVA on that one. It's just such a good champion right now, and I know Galson can play it as well. It's just the question of whether or not you want to give it up, and I don't think it's something that's going to outrange you pretty much most of the game, and it's not something that you want to let become a late game monster like it did in this past game.
Yeah, and I think for the side of TVA, like, they opted to choose the Ashe rather than the Caitlyn with this first pick, as we're going to see the teams on the same sides for the third game in a row. But you weren't able to get the benefit of the Ashe, especially early in the game. Now, yes, when we're 40 minutes into the game and you have the CDR, those ults coming through, we're able to burn a couple of cleanses there coming out from the Caitlyn. But outside of that, I don't think they really used jungle tracking very proactively, I guess. Obviously, Damien more so was able to get that kill early in the game just due to the gank and then following them afterwards. But for me, it's like I think the Caitlyn's just much more of a make or break champion at this point into the series specifically than this Ashe. But let's see if TVA will agree.
Absolutely. I would also like to see a bit more adaptation from TVA in mid. I did like the idea of the Anivia, but it did not pan out as though you wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that Veigar plays a lot of Varus mid, which if they want to keep the Varus in their comp in some way, that could be an option you go for. But if you're giving up the Syndra as well, it's something that could end up being rough for you.
Yeah, and now to be fair, like playing devil's advocate, it's hard to play mid lane when your bot lane is 0 and 5 by
Dying.
8 minutes
Yeah.
into the game, and then Nautilus is getting Mobies and coming into your lane for 3 minutes. So I
See,
don't.
Jinx.
It's definitely hard. We do have the consistent Jinx ban. To me,
And
if you're
Veigar
still
ban
if you're
from
still
Sis.
willing to ban Jinx this late into the series, you have to put much higher of a priority on getting the strongest ADC possible. We do see the Syndra ban being hovered here and locked in, going back to more so of the game one draft. And then Amumu was the third ban. They're going to stick true to that here potentially, which is going to leave the
Okay.
Aurelian Soul open as well.
I would like to see either Serenity. If Serenity does not ban the Caitlyn here, I think you have to pick it as TVA. Otherwise, you're just asking for trouble. If they do ban it, I would like to see where they go with their next pick or with their first pick here. But
And
I
keep
guess
in mind, I was going to say, if they ban the Caitlyn,
It's
that's going to
Maokai
leave up the
ban.
Maokai and the Ashe. This
Okay.
is exactly what I was going to touch
I
base
don't
on.
mind that.
This is what I like to see because this creates that pressure getting onto the Caitlyn if Serenity is going to go to that 3 games in a row.
I really don't see a world where they go anywhere but Caitlyn here. Obviously, Asol is a late game monster if you can get there, but Caitlyn is too, as we'll see it locked in there from the side of Serenity. I would like to see what their support is. I
And
probably
the
go on
Nautilus
the
he
Nautilus
did
again.
fantastic on the game too. Sneaky
Absolutely.
candidate for player of the game. That last time, I really don't want to see the Ashe angle here. I'd like to see something a little bit more either engage or even potentially something to disengage this Nautilus that was causing massive problems. I mean, Braum does really well into not. You can go Rakan.
Zyre Rakan would be a very good lock-in here from the side of TVA.
I agree.
Almost all
I
of them
think
did
that's
really well game
Yep,
one on
just
it.
and we'll see it right
super
there.
strong here. A really good adaptation. Now, again, you're going to see a lot more of either top or jungle bans, but I think Damien's pull in jungle, he's shown it already so far, willing to go a lot of different ways as well as eating up some bans as well. I'm not too worried about jungle. And then in top, I think it's really plug and play easy. You put jungle on a carry style champion, pair that with the Aurelian Soul, and then put a tank in top lane, and I think both comps are
As we
rounding out
do
pretty
see
well.
the Sejuani here in Serenity's comp. I do wonder whether or not it's going to end up being in top lane or jungle. It could go either way, but if you are taking it in jungle, you do want to see melees in one or both of those solo lanes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you want to take out some melee champs in this second ban phase as TVA. We will see probably this Irelia ban coming through. Or the Malphite. Okay.
I feel like
See the
if
Malphite there.
like I'm okay if Serenity wants to take Malphite and add to there's a super beefy comp, especially when you have so much playmaking to focus on. I mean, theoretically, you're going to have Caitlyn and then a mid laner doing damage. I don't know. I'm not scared of the Malphite. I much rather would have seen something like an Irelia and Silas ban coming out here. But we'll see what TVA opts for, as we do see top lane being targeted by the Yone as well as the Jax. Honestly, I'm not too nervous
There's
about
the
those
Silas ban
bans.
coming through there.
Yeah, I like to see that one. Again, a Silas taking an Aurelian Soul ultimate late in the game is not something you want to be dealing with. But a Cassidy coming
Yeah,
out
this
here
is a
for the
rough
side. Wow.
matchup. If they lock in this Cassidy, it is a very difficult matchup for Aurelian Soul, and they do lock it in. I do know this from playing it last night and knowing that you will get your flight canceled with his Q.
Oh, interesting.
It is very unfun when he does it.
For me,
You see
like, what do they lock Jarvan here?
I would like to see a Jarvan or an additional. I would like to see a tank on the
I don't know
side
how
of
much
TVA.
Jarvan Damien
I
plays
don't
though.
mind Trundle.
Yeah,
That
I
is a
don't.
good pick into the Sejuani. It is the typical counter in LCS, at least when you're playing when your name is Santorin. But we'll see maybe this Gwen coming out as the last pick. Another pick I do not mind. That's a great lock in there with the true damage coming from her kit against both the Kassadin and the Sejuani.
Oh
Could be
man,
interesting
I
with
don't
this
know.
last
I,
pick
I
from
would have
Serenity.
loved to see something like a Jarvan and like probably a Cho'Gath, to be honest with you.
Cho'Gath would have been fire to have in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we
Could
do
be
see
a
the Darius.
Darius
The
here.
Darius was banned last game, and Serenity's
Oh.
gonna say ban it last game. This time we're gonna get it and make sure to lock it down. I think Darius is something that the side of TVA has some bad nightmares about. Fortunately enough, it's not going to be into a Maokai this time, but I still think Darius is going to be able to match that side lane pressure into Gwen that we just did not see coming out of the Shen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very different situation here. Top lane for Gwen. I think this is where part of the issue comes in with that Malphite ban. I don't think that a Malphite would have been that big a deal. I mean, you'd have 3 complete tanks, and then just a Caitlyn Kassadin. Like you'd kill one of them, and a fight's won. But Darius can certainly kind of Goomba stomp this top lane. I mean, I don't know 100% how Gwen into Darius goes, but just knowing how early game tends to be for Gwen and how Darius can dominate those levels 1 through 3, can easily see Swift Life having a very big performance here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be, at least for the Gwen side of the matchup, it's gonna be the name of the game is gonna be surviving your early levels. If you give over an early kill to this Darius, it will run over you the moment it hits level 6, especially with the Sejuani coming into the top lane or going into the jungle there. If we are going to see ganks coming up to the top lane, it's going to rely heavily on the W from Gwen to escape those. I am curious what summoner spells Gwen is going to take, as most of the time you will see some variation of TP with another summoner, whether it's Ghost or Ignite. I would like to see the Ghost rather than the Ignite in this situation.
They did go Ghost game 1 on the
Okay.
Gwen.
Yeah. But it is all up to this early matchup here to see how top goes. If it falls apart early, you do always have the case where TVA's comp scales incredibly well, but Serenity has that late game monster coming from the mid lane.
Yeah, I definitely think that Aurelion Sol can have more of an impact in the early game on this Kassadin, and it's never as simple as get Kassadin at level 16 and the game ends. It's he still has to put himself in harm's way, has to get in on that back line. Could still be pretty dicey, but I think that there's a lot of things on Serenity's side that I like, and we just saw Dechamp have a very good performance on this Caitlyn. I mean, this guy's essentially a one-trick this season. 100% Caitlyn this LBLCS season. So we'll have to see if after game 2 somebody shot him a DM and said, "Don't build Kraken." Especially in this game, I don't know if I'd be building Kraken. I don't really see. I feel like Gale
I think
just is.
Gale is probably
better.
the better option, but you are going to need that LDR eventually to break through the Trundle. He is going to be very tanky, but the Gale Force is definitely the better option. I do see in the chat taking Ghost could be an option. It's very hard because I think Cleanse could have good value in this situation, especially with as long as Aurelion Sol does not have Sky's Descend, you can cleanse the stun. And if you don't cleanse that stun, you will probably die immediately. But if he does have Sky's Descend, you're kind of knocked up regardless.
Yeah, I mean, I think we clowned a little bit the cleanse and then the QSS stack last game, but for me, like if I'm looking at the side of TVA's comp, this is another game where outside of the Rakan combo, and then obviously into a Xayah snare, like how do you lock down this Caitlyn, right? So if you have cleanse to every time Rakan presses RW and you cleanse that, I don't see how this Caitlyn dies.
Well,
Yeah.
the issue there is I mean, you cleanse one and you just get hit by the other there.
Mhm.
Well, if you hold it for 1 second, you can cleanse both, right?
Yeah.
I
Not the
suppose.
knockup. I guess
Fair.
I think if you're going to if you're going that route where you do take the cleanse and you try to cleanse the Rakan ult, you kind of have to like either you kind of have to flash like in the same frame you cleanse so the knockup doesn't go through, and that is a bit of a mechanical test. I guess we will see here in a few seconds what they do end up taking on that Caitlyn. But I do want to get your thought. Oh, I guess it is in 3 minutes. My fault. I do want to get your thought here, Joey, on this jungle matchup. What do you think that Damien has to do to get an advantage over the Sejuani?
I think really in this specific matchup, it really comes down to where you're going to have priority in your lanes. Yes, in a blanket statement, Trundle is going to be stronger than Sejuani. But honestly, I think looking across the map, you have to be able to play around this Aurelian Soul just because he's theoretically going to have a little bit of prio. And if you're able to win a skirmish because Soul gets there first, that's going to increase the snowball potential and kind of pay dividends, if you will. But if I'm looking from top to bottom, what am I going to do as Trundle? You can't really count on playing around mid. It's just something that happens in rotation, especially with not a lot of great gank setup, especially post 6 into a Kassadin. But I have to get this Gwen ahead, right? Like, if you saw what happened game 1 and understand, hey, this is a win condition, we can go for it again and shut down a Darius, I just think that's going to pay the most dividends here. I think there is an argument to be made to play around like a counter gank into bot lane, assuming both the Sejuani and Nautilus jump and hook forward. You're going to be there to play around, but I wouldn't do that until post 6. So first 5 minutes, my focus is going to be around the solo lanes, specifically the mid 2v2, or I'm going to be focusing to getting to top lane first. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
I would look into starting, I'd say, red buff on the Trundle. And honestly, if Soul does get, I don't know specifically how this matchup goes early, but if Soul's able to get under tower, I might even try something cheeky like a red to red on Trundle,
Mm-hmm.
assuming that you're able to set the Sejuani behind, and then you could even look to go red into top lane. Now, obviously, you're not going to have level 3, but just
Mm-hmm.
to alleviate some of the pressure and get Gwen ahead, as well as setting Sejuani onto the back foot. But we shall see how that goes.
Absolutely. I will say with the Aurelion Soul Kassadin matchup, it is a Soul favored up until level 6,
Mm-hmm.
where Kassadin is able to just kind of jump around at you. It does become a lot harder of a matchup, but if you are playing it correctly, you can always generally get out. I would like to see if at level 6 Kassadin does decide to go in on Aurelion Soul, he will wait until the Q has come out of Kassadin, because if he gets hit by that when he's in his W, he will just most likely die unless he has flash available.
Right.
So that is a very interesting matchup. As we are through the spectator delay here, we will finally see this Caitlyn summoner spells.
While we're loading in here, I think we gotta call our shots here. Who do we think is taking this game 3? Who do we think is taking the series? Make your shot now. I mean, I guess you can wait until you see the keystones. If that
Yeah, I want to see
is
the keystones.
significantly.
Okay, we do have a heal coming out of the Caitlyn here. And a cleanse out of the Zaya, which is probably the best option they can take against the Sejuani ult there. I will let you go there first there, Joey. What do you think? Who's taking this game?
Hmm. I am going to say that Serenity did a good job of building a composition, a very synergetic composition. You have the Sejuani to play frontline with melee solo laners. Darius is going to be able to actually match the Gwen on the split push much better than these Shen did. And then you get a bot lane that you're able to run back. And clearly you looked just fine on it last game. I don't think that TVA's draft really put any dent into what Serenity just showed that they could win through. So I'm going to go with Serenity just because I think the comp fits what they want to do much better as well as an easy to execute.
Aaron, how about you?
Obviously, as a bit of a biased perspective, I would love to see TVA win this year, but I think the momentum is on Serenity's side, and I like their comp better. I think Cassidon should be relatively safe here in this early to mid game to get to those level points that he needs to get. I feel like this is going to be a bit of a Swift Life show, though. I'm going to call it now. This Darius, they're going to wish they had banned it, and I'm going to call the 2-1 series in favor of Serenity.
All right. Now I will admit, my heart stands with TVA. My boys, I want them to pull through. No bias, of course, but I think you're just gonna have so many problems dealing with the cast and when late game rolls around, unless either your Zaya gets really fed and can break through that magic damage shield that Cassidon innately has, or unless Gwen gets really far ahead of this Darius. But I am going the 2-1 in favor of Serenity as we have a fight breaking out. Oh, never mind. It's going to be a quick disengage there.
I'm just trying to take
the mind game.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say I'm just trying to take a second here. It's really interesting. I think how TVA positioned. This is second game now where the ADC is more so looking to take the hooks to start to allow a camp to really play off of that. What you guys obviously have lain together. What are your thoughts on that decision?
I don't mind it because I feel like that's something I would call for.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of calling for, Rap Juniors finally says, "Listen, help me
Here we
carry
go.
you by fucking helping me out." And Trundle's finally here, able to get Ghost down from Rap, not able to follow up on the flash from Darius.
I don't like the usage of Ghost there.
I don't either.
I think Darius is gonna flash regardless, thinking he's dead. I would like to see a regank soon while he has no flash, but it's only time will tell what happens here in this top lane matchup.
Yeah, and it looks like we do see some vision control coming out from the side of Serenity, taking opportunity to play a little more passively around this top lane. Great trade there from the side of Swift, going to get that bleed damage as well. We do see Casson has the roam first into the Trundle. Big damage comes out from the electrocute, but no follow-up there, despite Sejuani coming over the back of the wall. Looking across the map, a lot of action in topside, which is what we wanted to see. I'm just feeling a little optimistic that Damien finally realized that top lane does exist and Rap getting some help.
Well, as is the current meta of League of Legends, you're not supposed to acknowledge the fact that your top lane exists. You're supposed to just play for bot lane. It alleviates a little bit of pressure, I guess, knowing that he can't go for a flash follow. But I still think that Darius should be sitting pretty in this lane, as I don't realistically expect a follow up here.
We could see a fight break out here over this bottom Scuttle Crab, provided the Sejuani is going there. We do see the Nautilus roaming up as well, so Damien will likely leave the Scuttle Crab.
Nope, he already secured it. He had smite advantage.
Oh, he did?
Yep.
Okay.
He was able to probably auto Q, auto smite. It was down.
See, this is why I don't play jungle.
No, but I mean, I think we touched on how is the Trundle going to be able to take advantage of this matchup, and we saw it, or we talked about just playing around Prio in their lanes, and that just hasn't come to fruition so far. So this is why when we saw the Trundle locked in, personally, I wasn't a big fan. I think there's a lot of different directions you could have went, especially if you're going to go for more of a split push in that top side. You could have even went a Zac. You could have went the Jarvan. If you really wanted to play more skirmishy, I think a Viego could have come in here, or something like a Kindred. Just my ranting just shows there's plenty of freaking options at this point into the game. But Trundle is just not something I was expecting, and hasn't really benefited in the early game when you want to be skirmishing with it.
We do have a bit of a fight breaking out top here. I do think Rap Jr. should win this.
Especially with Conqueror coming through. The healing coming down onto the Darius, so just able to avoid the tip of that needle there. Lives with about probably 60 HP, but this just shows even without items and down nearly double CS, Gwen's able to fight back because of that help she got early. If Darius had flash there, that was night-night for the Gwen.
Absolutely. And Casson has just ticked over to level 6 here, so we may see a bit spicier of mid lane. We do have Aurelion Sol roaming down. There is... Oh, never mind. He's going right back mid. I was going to say there could be a possibility of just going to hit that dragon right now with the A-Soul walking down, but it does not seem as though that is the play. We have a fight breaking out here in the bot lane. Quick flash out of Nautilus, and it's over.
Yeah,
I
just
don't know why he flashed there, to be honest. I mean, he saw the recon W in, I guess, to bait in the Nautilus, but I mean, all you're really worried about is a Trundle pillar. I mean, I guess it's better safe than sorry here in a rubber match, but I don't really think the Nautilus was in grave danger there.
yeah. I think that we've seen that back-to-back games. Mostly last game was from DeChamp using the cleanse really on reaction, so you see that coming out from support gate this time. But really quick shout out to a camp there, being wise with his cooldown usage, baiting in that Nautilus. He knew as soon as the Nautilus sees a W going down, he's going to look to go in, and that gave the opportunity to take advantage. As we do see a dive potentially coming down. Now, Rap is 6 here. Sejuani is not. I'm curious to see. It looks like they're going to pull off that dive.
I would like to see the TVA. Oh, I'll hold that thought.
Yeah, his bone plating does go down right before the Q hit, so a lot of damage between that. We do see the Nautilus positioning for a potential hook here. Again, back-to-back plays. Oh, man. We do see the missing pink coming out of mid, but there's no rotation available to really help this out. Rap has to be using that ultimate to try to clear the wave. Goes forward. Plenty of damage onto the Darius. Darius goes down. He still has another proc of the ultimate, I believe.
Oh?
No, not enough to go down. Oh, I thought he only used 2 there.
I would have liked to see the A-Soul follow there. I think he cleans up and gets a ton of value.
Absolutely, but instead able to get a proc off or a tower plate off in the mid lane. We get a 1-for-1 in the top lane, and then to your point, Dragon going to head over. I want to see, we do see the bot lane of Serenity at least going to check it out. Yeah, I don't know what you're doing here. Damien's going to lose so much health here if they just decide to go all in. Luckily for Damien, Nautilus is not 6 yet.
This could be a good engage here.
As we do see
if we get a massive ult here from the A-Soul.
Down go support gate to the Veigar. Really not much, like you just saw that coming. It was kind of inevitable once Serenity decided to contest despite their pressure being topside. As we do see a lot of damage coming out here from that boy Truth already early into the game. Gotta love this stupid champion. But really just well played from the... honestly, everybody coming out from TVA. You mentioned the A-Soul did not roam initially, but understanding that you do have to match the pressure eventually, helping secure that kill and the dragon. Losing a lot of health here in the mid lane. And it looks like Serenity's going to try to answer, again, across the map with the Rift Herald.
You just got a base here if you're A-Soul. Just
Did we have a pause here? Nope, okay. Just spectator bug.
Like it for a second.
Yeah.
This is the point I was making earlier with the A-Soul Caston matchup. If you do not have that W up, he is likely to just continuously dive into you. We have a fight breaking out here in the
I was going to say, the W doesn't land from the Rakan, but now the Aftershock is down. Plenty of damage going on to support gate. The second time now we've seen Galsan just... unlucky walking into a Caitlyn trap, but plenty of damage coming down onto the Nautilus. Honestly, that's kind of huge because with him being chunked down and not having Ignite, that's such a disincentive to really look to go in with your ultimate. He's still looking for the hook angles. I guess he was just looking to get the control ward into the bush up there. But still smart from the side of TVA to look for that opportunity and also
coming down here.
Oh man, a camp stuck between a rock and a hard place, able to dodge, but we do have ultimate finally coming down here from both sides. Ultimate from the Sedge is going to hit. Cleanse comes down. Plenty of damage coming out from the Feather Storm here. Heal's going to come down. Support gate living just with about 10% health. Veigar is here though on the Aurelion Soul with ultimate ready. Gonna fly through here. Is he going to be able to pick up a kill? No. Support K is able to get out, but knockup from a camp is going to be able to finish off the champ, and a camp lives for the double kill. We do see plenty of damage coming out from this top side. Darius does get the ultimate down, but he does go down. Rap Jr. is going to have plenty of damage here sustained into that boy Truth. That boy Truth looking to R in forward to get that. Does Rap have enough damage? No, he does not. Caston is able to get out. So plenty of kills and damage coming across. Ultimately, I believe that was a 3-for-1 in favor of TVA. Much better opportunity there.
Huge shout out to a camp there. I think played that ridiculously well. I think he ate the No, maybe he didn't eat the Sejuani ult, but he positioned himself in a way where Serenity had to get through him to try and get onto the Zaya, who was able to survive, getting hit with the Nautilus ult, getting hit with the Sejuani ult. Luckily, they had that cleanse, and then just that follow up. It was a good stun by Veigar to set up the Rakan to hit the W on Caitlyn, and support Gabe was just a little bit baited. They felt like they had to try to save their AD carry, and that led to 2 kills for this Reliant Soul, who's now sitting on 6 stacks of the Dark Seal, along with that Leandries here 11 minutes into the game.
I'm glad you touched on it. I was gonna ask about the Leandries. Now, last time when we saw Aurelion Sol coming out for That Boy Truth in game one, can't even ask because we do see the Rakan ult going into the Darius. Darius not able to live through all that damage. Rap Jr. being the beneficiary of that kill. Typical fashion, Galsan's gonna be engaged on in the bot side. Plenty of damage coming onto Dechamp, but he is able to live with a sliver of health, get that ultimate off, and able to finish off Galsan. I think Serenity's done a great job of answering bot while TVA goes top. But I can finally make my point. We saw game one, Asol going Roa. This game, we see a Leandries. What's the right choice?
I've gone Roa every game, and it feels mediocre, so it might be the Leandries, even though everything on UGG does point towards the Roa. I think Veigar does have much more experience on it, so he might be right here. I think if you are ahead, it's probably better. You do see Darius taking a really fucking weird fight here.
Weird is probably the nicest way you could have described that fight.
Dumb. Sorry.
That's a little bit better.
Stop the base.
He did stop the base and was able to give his team time to drop the Rift bot and get first tower, it looks like. But an 0 for 4 start here for Swift. Really not enjoying these Gwen matchups, whether he's on Shen or Darius.
He's not holding up his end of the bargain that I claimed at the start of this match. I said this was going to be the Swift Life show, and it is unfortunate.
Oh, it is the show, just one he might want to turn off instead.
Yeah. As far as the Leandries, I think compositionally it makes sense into a Nautilus, a Sejuani, a Darius, these champs that are relatively beefy and gonna take some time to kill. I think that it does make some sense. I mean, again, I don't know a ton about the specific ASOL builds I know you tend to go Roa, but I haven't actually played the new rework champ. But I assume, just kind of based on what I've watched in competitive play, that it should be pretty decent. TVA able to pick up this second dragon here, set themselves up for a relatively early soul around the 23-24 minute mark.
I'd say they have an early soul. They're able to lock that in right at the beginning of the game. But as we go through here, there is a lot of comments coming into the Twitch chat looking at this Ace Soul. We touched on it when it was picked for Serenity in game one, needing that time to scale up and really stalling the game. But TVA's done a great job here of really playing around it and getting it rolling much earlier. Speaking of rolling, we do have 3 members of Serenity going into this top side to deal with the raid boss Rap Jr. Not able to live through the 3-man wrecking ball crew, if you will, from Serenity. But if you're TVA, I know you just saw Rap Jr. go down, but how do you feel having 3 kills both on Gwen and Asol so far? But in return, this Cassidy is going to be scaling super successfully.
I think you still feel pretty good. We've seen what Rap Jr. can do on the Gwen as we get to the late game. Obviously, good Sejuani out there.
Oh, that is a massive Skies Descent.
Absolutely, as we do see Rakan try to get forward, but the flash is answered. Yeah. I don't know. Really good play from both teams there, I think, in terms of execution. Obviously, we're not going to see anything crazy come from it outside of Damien and TVA rotating over to secure this Rift Herald. But, again, this Cassidy is just free farming in the bot lane, able to stack up this Roa, stack up the tier, and it's really going to be a late game scale off between these 2 mid laners that, honestly, despite the 3 kills, I'm more scared of the Cassidy at this rate.
Yeah, he is level 11 already. It is going to be very interesting. I do think this build is probably... I'm thinking about it more. It is probably better to be able to punch through that Cassidy. I think if you don't have that much damage, he's just going to run rampant for the whole game.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. And then looking, we do finally see the Gale Force coming through the Caitlyn.
Somebody messaged them.
Looking across the rest of the map, we do see Stride Breaker coming through for the Darius. Obviously, Divine Sunder coming through from the Trundle. Actually, a really strong spike for the Trundle, and with him being ahead in tempo, having Mythic advantage at the moment. But on the opposite side, you have Mythic done on Caitlyn and not on Xayah. So if a team fight does break out, I'd probably lean. I think it's more important, obviously, for the Gale Force on Caitlyn than it is Divine on the Trundle. But there's not really an objective to force that, so it's really going to come down to them fighting for vision at this point.
Definitely think if you are TVA, you want to be able to get Xayah on this Gale Force themselves before this next dragon has about a minute, I would say, to accumulate enough gold, because they're going to need time to base, going to need time to buy and walk back out, as we see the all-in from Rap Jr.
Yeah, started out with the
Gonna have to do
Ghost,
this
and
quick.
he is able to get plenty of damage, not able to, is
Oh.
dodging the Sejuani ultimate, really well played, but
TB here
Asol
by
is here,
Kassadin.
we do have the TP coming through, missed time there on the ultimate, no knock-up onto the Kassadin, but he has to dive under
Wait.
tower, Rap Jr. is healing,
Wait.
block,
Wait,
block,
Oh.
oh no,
We could see the Asol here get 2 more quick kills.
this
Absolutely
is,
fucking massive.
it's going to go
That
down
is
to the
gonna be
Leandri's
another-
burn,
And
oh
there's another.
my
Oh my
God, we have the
And we're
CC
gonna
lock
see the
coming down.
Nautilus.
No E coming down from Galsan to lock down the Nautilus, but all 3 lanes pushing now for the side of TVA, being able to get a 3-for-1 trade, and this Aurelian Soul is going crazy.
And we
Meanwhile,
see
on the bot
Herald coming
side,
out. Yep.
just completely free. Just TVA just had a massive 60 seconds there. We're gonna be seeing Xayah get back to base, assumedly get that Gale Force, and then some. Seeing they're sitting on 6k gold.
Wow, he
And-
is 2k ahead.
Well, both jungle and mid are.
Oh wow. This I would like to see. Oh, never mind. It got cleared while I was saying it. I was gonna say I would like to see this pink that is in the blue side red quadrant be cleaned up, and it was. So that's a hell of a macro play.
A very interesting build. You're going to see the Trundle opt for a Frozen Heart here. Personally, I think that's a terrible decision. You're not going to be able to get that value onto the Caitlyn in most scenarios. I would have played more so. Honestly, I would have liked like a Spirit Visage. Just because I think the Kassadin is going to be a big issue, but we do see a 4v5. Darius does have TP, but TVA is going to use this
Darius
momentary
TP
advantage.
in
We
here.
do see a big flank ward actually that TV was not aware of. They still don't know that Darius is there. Is he going to be able to get onto this backline? Soul has no flash. That's going to be the target. As we
We
do
have the
see a camp
Kassadin
pulls
too.
the trigger.
Oh.
They are going to get a ton of damage. This is fucking huge from the side of TVA. They do not have that boy Truth or Swift into the fight yet, as everybody is going to be going down here.
Okay,
Knock up
that's
onto
big.
the Kassadin. That boy Truth is going to go down to the Xayah because the Gale Force able to get the triple kill here, and Rap Jr. is able to kill off a 4th. That's going to be a dragon, and we have 45 seconds until Baron spawns as well.
It's an absolutely massive team fight here from TVA. I really wasn't sure what the plan was, sending both the Darius and the Kassadin on a flank, because if you either just nuke them or you continue going forward as the side of TVA. Even though I mean, they went forward and then they turned back and killed everybody. So whatever they're doing, it's working.
Yeah, and I don't know who's specifically making that shot call, but really well done from a camp to say, hey, I'm pressing my R in Battle Song, and we're going to go for these members once they saw that the Kassadin and Darius were split behind. Now they're able to get that mid-tier 2. They got the Dragon, and they're going to rotate to start getting Baron Vision around. I don't know if they know the timer specifically on Kassadin and TP, but he
Yeah.
is in bot lane. They could look to pressure this, but plenty of gold in their pockets, probably a combined 4K at this point. They're going to look to spend that and get back out onto the map as fast as they can.
I would not have minded if they just continued to hit that Baron, considering they have the Aurelian Soul and it can just absolutely wipe it out with the items he has at the moment. But it is probably the safer call to make. We do see Asol going forward here. He probably will just fucking.
Oh my god. Gale Force not going to help you there. Heal, I believe, literally came off cooldown as Caitlyn died. but
I
Caitlyn
think
did
it
pick up
was.
the IE there.
wow, that is
on the
crazy damage. That's just at that point it was 16 pages in the spell book. As Trundle is going to try to take a 1v1 here into the Darius. He does have his bot lane and Soul rotating up. Has to be careful here though. Darius is going to have a lot of damage.
Yeah.
He is able to
Without
heal
this
through
flash
it.
here, he should
Plenty
be
of
dead.
damage.
Yeah.
That honestly is probably going to be Baron here for the side of TVA. Honestly, great macro rotations coming out. I think this is where they look the most comfortable. Every single one of their players have some type of playmaking possibility. Rap Jr. in the side wave, and I just think really well played so far. And now can they now don't jinx this. We've seen a steal in game 1. Lennon Hudson able to get into the pit. No, does not steal it away. Oh my. I saw the blue icon come up and I just instantly thought Sejuani. But well done from the side of TVA to secure that 50-50. And they're going to be able to continue this snowball. 9k gold up at 21 minutes here with Baron buff. Going to be able to increase that lead.
Now, I think you're... Oh, you know what? You go ahead.
I was just. I think that was really heads up of a camp to hit the charm as he saw Sejuani coming over, just trying to impact the ability to go for the steal there.
Absolutely. I do think your best course of action here as TVA is to go into a 1-3-1 setup. I don't think they're going to be able to handle it if you send your two strongest champions being the Aesol and the Gwen. Now, while Xayah is in a good position herself, she is nowhere near as strong. It appears your game just...
Oh, no, that's a spectator
nope,
bug.
there it goes.
Yeah, spectator bug, so we do know that one way or the other, this game's probably going to end in about 5 minutes. So the question is, how does TVA close this, or how do they throw it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would like to see a setup where we're pushing for towers in multiple lanes rather than just ARAMing it. But if they're just this far ahead, they really can do whatever.
Absolutely. And looking on the bot side, we do see Aurelion Sol walk all the way back to base. Does have TP to come into this top tower. I'm curious if they're going to try to match it. It does not look like it. Caston's going to back off, rotate towards top. If you're the side of Serenity, Lest, how do you get back into this game?
That's where it's really tough. Is the Aurelion Sol is very slippery, very hard to get onto. I mean, it'd be great to get that massive shutdown, but he's on the opposite side of the map. They're walking out as this group of 3.
They're going to try to look for a pick there with the Sejuani ult. Does not land on anybody. That is an Aurelion Sol teleport. It was actually super late after everything had already gone down. Definitely don't like that being wasted from the side of TVA. But they're going to utilize that to get in position for this Dragon Soul and look for the Death Bush. I love this play, especially when you have, or assume you have vision control of the quadrant.
No.
Oh no, Sejuani. What happened? As they are able to get out, but that means TVA is going to use the rest of their control here to secure the blue buff for Soul and potentially look to get Hex Soul here in about 20 seconds.
And this is going to be a massive fight with the Aesol having the skies descend. I just wanted to point that out real quick.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even a look at items across the board. This might be an opportunity. So you see 2 items of Seraphs as well. Oh, don't even have a chance to talk about it as a quick catch onto the Casson. And Exhaust does go down. Another Aller is going to come out. Casson's able to get away. But now big engage coming out from a camped off of the Trundle Pillar. Caitlyn has to get out. Huge ultimate coming down from the side of TVA. They are able to finish off the jungle. TVA is able to sweep up 2 kills, 3 kills, 4 kills. Almost able to finish off the ace, gets to 5th, and they are going to look to end this game 25 minutes in. Great game from start to finish. Huge performance from the side of Veigar, specifically in the mid lane. And I know that boy Truth had one hell of a game 1 and 2, but boy was he sat down quick in game 3.
What a banger of a series. Definitely a lot of good to take away here from both of these teams, to be honest. And like I call it, these are 2 really good teams. These are 2 playoff contenders, in my opinion. I think that these should be among the top in their group. I think Group B is fairly competitive, but really good series overall here from both sides.
Yeah, I'm reaching out to a camp to see now who we're going to be able to get into interview. I love being able to have that opportunity after the game.
I'll bring him up.
I do want to.
Oh, they won Vagar in here when you have the
Yes.
opportunity. I love to see that. But before we dive into that, any shout outs in your mind before we have to be a little bit biased here? On either side from you, Skibby, jumping in at the end.
I do want to shout out all three of us for doubting TVA here, giving them the absolute underdog mentality.
It was the intentional caster curse. Come on now.
Absolutely. No, I do think that there was an absolute a stellar performance coming out of the bot lane from this Caitlyn here. I'm sorry, I do not remember the name. What was
A champ.
Champ? Yes, absolutely. Champ, what a great job. You performed as well as you can, and in this last game, I feel for you with this Aurelion Soul just running your ass down. It's just hard playing a game like that, especially as ADC. But that might be my MVP for Team Serenity here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll again give the kudos to that boy Truth. Again, he was not happy with where I ranked him coming into the season. Had a very good first two games. Obviously, there was a lot of things that kind of went wrong in game three, but I think he played really well. And then support Gabe, I think, was the sneaky MVP of that game too. Just a ridiculous early game on that Nautilus.
Yeah, and I think for me, I mean, plenty of kudos given out to Serenity that you guys already touched on. But one person I want to give kudos to, I mean, I know I talked about Rap, but especially in game three, coming out of another role swap, camped on that Rakan just looked so decisive, enabling his team. I don't know if he's specifically making the shots in comms, but the execution part on the Rift, he did a phenomenal job this game. And obviously, the Ashe game didn't go as well as they were intending to, but both game one and game three, I think they did a great job understanding their role and allowing their team to come out victorious.
As we do have Vagar pulling up into the call here.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Hello.
Hello. One hell of a banger series to start off this season of the LBLCS.
Yeah.
And I know you and I specifically haven't got much opportunity to really talk through. But before we dive into some hard-hitting questions that we love to ask, how do you feel coming right out of that series?
I feel pretty great. I mean, I'm glad we won. Honestly, enemy team, shout out to them, played so fucking well. Honestly, like, I mean, I don't know. Both teams are probably making a bunch of mistakes, but like, they played way better than I thought they did, or thought they would, and I was really impressed, especially their mid. He was really good at playing safe and just being a late game carry threat like every game. Props to him.
Absolutely, and just for context, I'm not sure if you're aware, but this mid laner specifically was not super happy with Less Force, his preseason rankings, specifically of the mid laner's positioning. So I think he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder you had to deal with, but we all agreed he played very well, and appreciate you shouting him out as well. I guess the rest of us will each have a question or two to ask you if you don't mind. My first one is going into the matchup. I know there's a lot of different names, a lot of different faces. You guys have spent a lot of time playing together in scrims and practice, even solo duo over the last couple of weeks. Who specifically is really taking the reins on shot calling, especially when it comes to team fighting? I think there was a lot of decisiveness, specifically in that game three, and I'm very curious who's the one pulling the trigger.
Damien is our jungler, MW. He's definitely our main shot caller, and then everybody else chips in. But he's kind of the one ordering us around. I guess you guys kind of saw we kind of just lived in their jungle, and we're just following Damien's orders. Overlord Damien for the win.
Well, as a fellow jungler, I love to hear that. And then final question. I don't necessarily know your history specifically competing in the LBLCS or any other amateur leagues. So not sure maybe what your personal goal is. So if you could provide a little bit of insight, specifically what you're looking to accomplish, whether that be growing as an individual or even just winning the chip as the generic answer, what are you looking to accomplish this season?
The goal is definitely for our team to win the whole thing. The goal is to never lose. The goal is to be the best mid in the league. I don't think I really got to show that tonight. I think specifically game two, I was like actually useless. But I got to show a little bit of it game three. And so hopefully in the future games, I can really do a lot more. But yeah, props to that mid for sure. He should definitely have a chip on his shoulder. He should be ranked higher than they put him for sure.
Awesome. Thank you for that answer. Skibby, you want to jump on in?
No.
Okay, that works. I love when Skibby doesn't have any questions. Les?
I can't think of anything. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I already alluded to it on the cast, but the rankings are definitely going to be more so based on these LBLCS games. And so when I go back to those in a couple weeks and I'm making that midway adjustment, I think I have to take into account how that series of his went. I guess I did want to ask a little bit about that game one, the Pantheon pick. I guess just a little bit of a question as to like why you opted for Pantheon into Aurelion Soul. I mean, I could imagine that like Asol has a really weak early game, Pantheon really strong early game, maybe trying to abuse that a little bit, but I guess just a little bit of curiosity on that one.
Yeah, I regretted the Pantheon pick. Honestly, I'd been picking Pantheon into Aurelion Soul and solo queue and Norm's flex games a lot, and a lot of the Aurelion Souls I saw just would walk into me level 1 and not respect my all-in, and I would get massive leads and just snowball the game out of control. But this guy obviously knew how to play the range, and so I didn't get much done. I did get some nice roams, but ultimately I just decided that I would just put the games in the hand of my top laner Rap and my ADC Galson. I didn't farm the rest of the game. I just basically hovered them the entire match and tried to put pressure in the jungle because, yeah, at that point I kind of used my usefulness and I needed to put the game in their hands, and thankfully Rap got the back door.
Yeah, that was just an absolutely insane end to game one. Just really loved how specifically Damien and Camp were both able to recognize that they didn't need to like win that fight in the red jungle. They just needed to stop the bases. Truly awesome into that game, and even game two was a banger, pretty much from start to finish. Game three was a little bit more decisive, I would say. You guys were kind of in control the whole time. But no, I mean, I think it was definitely a good first series showing from you guys. Obviously, we'd love to see TVA expand on the success they had last season, and I think that they did make some pretty quality upgrades this offseason to their overall roster construction. So definitely hope we can see them. I mean, we're only 1 week in, but they made playoffs last season, and I definitely think that this team has a pretty high ceiling.
What I'm hearing as org owner is you're guaranteeing a commercial championship after 1 week.
Yes, sir.
That's what I love to fucking hear.
Absolutely.
That's the bravado right there. Now, I know we pounded you with questions so far here. Vagar, any shout-outs you want to give to anybody watching? I know you shouted out the other team a little bit. Whatever you want to go from here.
Shout out to my team for kind of carrying me. Like I said, I wasn't super proud of my performance tonight. And shout out to Avis Avum, probably the worst Gwyn player in North America. Shout out to that guy.
Love to hear that.
Love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations on the week 1 win, and look forward to casting and watching the rest of your journey and all the success to follow.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Of course.
Thank you.
And no, I love the humility being shown there from Vagar. I think this team specifically, we touched on it pre-series. They've done a great job of not only upgrading, I think, on a individual level across a lot of the roles, but the synergy that these guys are showing is really strong. I know Damien, it was mentioned there, has taken a strong grasp in terms of the team dynamic and being a leader, stepping up, it sounds like both in-game and out of game. And some may come across as like not liking that style, but I think for this team specifically, they really needed that direction to follow up on, right? And we saw that again from the con. I'll mention it in game 3. If I'm hearing Damien in my ear, R, go, 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 anything to that effect, knowing exactly who I'm going to be targeting, etc. Like having that motivational factor is something that's going to be pivotal for this team moving forward. So I'm very excited.
Absolutely. You always love to have someone shot calling you so you don't have to do shit.
Oh, that is my favorite. Skippy, thanks for jumping on. Any shout outs you'd like to give before we wrap this up?
I just want to shout out the TV org owner, Les Force, for just being the absolute GOAT and accepting me into this group months ago.
Thank you. I mean, I think it was a bit of a symbiotic relationship there. You know, definitely had a lot of carry performances in season 8, season 9 for us, and then unfortunately the roster verification team
Does not
let us
like
let us
me.
down a bit this season. But there is season 11. Obviously a little bit away this time, but hopefully we're able to run it back next season. Um, but no, man, I appreciate the shout out. Appreciate that TVA was able to bring a dub to the TV organization week 1. Hopefully next week we're able to get the clean 2-0 sweep. But definitely got a lot of faith in both the squads.
Yeah, well, I appreciate both of you guys joining me in here. Great night, great series for the TV organization and TVA squad, and looking forward to it next week. Everybody, have a good night.